Gaming news today is, well, infuriating in a word. I did a quick short about this last night, but I wanted to dedicate today's show to the topic of PlayStation shutting down Bluepoint Games. Yes, the small but very talented studio that did the Demon's Souls remake, Shadow of the Colossus, and helped on various other projects. Well, they are shutting down. They're not being absorbed into other studios as far as we can tell. The people that were laid off are not going to land at the other PlayStation studios unless there's some sort of an effort worked out by those other companies. It seems they're all just being laid off, and they didn't have them help with anything or moved anything like they actually helped with the God of War Ragnarok game. You might not have known that. They just shuttered the studio and laid the employees off. And the optics on this couldn't be worse from pretty much every angle that you can think of. I think many people were quick to say, in the same week that you announced the God of War remakes, you shut down a studio known for remakes, and they weren't even that large of a studio. If you go back and you read Herman Hulst's announcement about the acquisition, and then you sort of read his praise for the studio as he closes them down, it just sort of rings hollow. And listen, I was mistaken about how much time they had spent on the God of War live service game, which kind of makes this worse. I was under the impression that they were working on their own project, something new, and that the God of War live service game was sort of like an early pre-production idea and just got shuttered and shut down. That apparently is not true. After they finished helping with God of War Ragnarok, they apparently started working on the God of War live service game, which means they spent roughly 2 to 3 years on it, and then it was canceled. And now they're shuttered. Now, it doesn't really matter to me where this idea came from. Did they pitch it to Sony, or were they basically told to make it? It all comes down to leadership. I was told by somebody in the know, Sony does not basically give directives to the studios like, hey, you make a live service game now. They budgeted more money for live service, and then the studios can pitch ideas. So this likely was an idea that came from Bluepoint, which I could see that happening. They just got done working on God of War Ragnarok, helping that thing come to light, helping Santa Monica, and they were like, man, this is a really nice game. We've seen some of the leaked artwork. A lot of the artwork and environments that they were working on for this God of War live service game, they looked very, very similar to some of the environments and things that we saw in God of War Ragnarok Valhalla as a free update. I don't know if any of that was offloaded from Bluepoint to be used in Valhalla, but it did seem to me like Bluepoint touched the God of War franchise and maybe got a hankering for making something with God of War. But it doesn't really matter. The leadership is who we would blame here. They approved something like as absurd sounding as a God of War live service game. And I really can't see a road where a game like that would do well, especially after looking at what Guerrilla came up with Horizon Hunters Gathering, which I think arguably looks pretty bad, but we'll see. I mean, there's always the chance that there's a large enough Horizon audience that game does okay commercially. I seriously have my doubts, though. After seeing that inauthentic and awful art style of Horizon Hunters Gathering, it's clear that Sony is attempting to course correct on the live service front. They have canceled live service games. They're having Horizon do public beta and gathering feedback. But not finding something for Bluepoint after wasting their time on a God of War live service game just feels like a crime. I have so many questions here. What about all the remakes that they could have done? You couldn't shift them to a single thing? Like, I don't know, Bloodborne? You couldn't get Miyazaki on the line and call him and say, hey, look at what these guys did with the Demon's Souls remake. We'd love to let them take a crack at Bloodborne, one of the most often requested remakes out there. Many have suggested also The Legend of Dragoon. In light of how popular Expedition 33 has been, why don't you let them remake that? It could be very popular, and they do good work. What about Killzone? What about Resistance? These are two fan favorites that are often requested by the fans. They're like, hey, could we get a new one or some kind of a remake? That would be low risk. Listen, I understand why they don't want to make a big budget first-person shooter. They know most of their first-person shooter fans are already playing Call of Duty, but you could have them remake something that is already there. Or maybe Siphon Filter. That one's been thrown around quite a bit because Bend has been in the headlines, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bend's shaking in their boots because they had a live service game canceled, and now, if you're looking to cut costs, it seems like a studio larger than Bluepoint would be also at risk. We hope Bend is currently working on something after their other live service game was canceled. We know that there was a live service Twisted Metal that was canceled, but with how well the TV show has done, that could be a perfect game for a remake from Bluepoint. Like, the studio could just give you a steady flow of dunkers with all of the great Sony IP that you own. Like, I get it. Costs are going up. There's the RAM and hardware prices. They're going to try to eat around that. They're going to probably raise PlayStation Plus, fees to make some of that money back that they're having to pay on the operational costs and the production costs. They're looking for ways to solve this problem. But a 70 to 100 person studio, you couldn't find a remake for them, a project to justify keeping them open. And listen, I know a lot of you are saying this. I'm seeing this take on Twitter. I'm probably going to see this in my comments and in the chat today. It's like, listen, they haven't done anything in 6 years, is what everybody keeps saying. They haven't shipped a game. Shinobi himself took to, I believe it was Reset Era, and essentially said, listen, they're looking right now at timelines and money. That's the problem that most of these big companies are in now. It's getting really, really volatile out there with rising hardware costs and tariffs and everything else. So PlayStation's like, listen, whatever timeline Bluepoint gets on right now, we won't see money from them as a studio for, minimum of probably 3 to 4 years if they quickly were able to turn around a remake. The real culprit in the room is that they wasted time on the God of War live service game. So now it's been 6 years since they shipped something, and it's easy to say, well, yeah, the Demon's Souls remake was cool and it was highly praised, but I probably wasn't exactly a commercial banger, and we need money. We need these studios to generate money. So I get it. Everybody's going to run to that narrative to defend this, to be like, well, they haven't done anything in 6 years. You got to look behind that curtain. Why haven't they done anything in 6 years? Because they were working on a God of War live service game. And if you want to blame them for that, like, oh, it was their idea and they mishandled the project, somebody in charge greenlit that, whether it was Jim Ryan or Herman Hulst or somebody else. That's where the buck stops. The buck doesn't stop with the studio. It stops at the person that said, yeah, that's a good idea, and then it was summarily canceled. This is a short-sighted gain in my estimation. This is not a long-term plan. This is a long-term loss to lose a studio with this level of talent. And you do this the week that you announce the God of War remakes? Like, you can pull these boys in and have them help? You're remaking 3 games, for crying out loud. Like, what is Santa Monica going to do all of that? We want something new from Santa Monica. Allegedly, we're going to hear about something from them this summer. But you could have Santa Monica shift their weight behind everything new, whether it's God of War Egypt or Cory Barlog's new game. Like, they could shift that bandwidth behind that, and you could have handed any remaining work on God of War 1 through 3 remakes, that trilogy, to Bluepoint. There's only 70 to 100 people there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, listen, I went on a rant about this the other day, about how Sony is handling their IP. And it's like, you could have had Bluepoint handling your IP to make remakes, and instead we get Lego Horizon. We get a canceled God of War live service game. We get Horizon Hunters Gathering. We get a Horizon mobile MMO. We get God of War Sons of Sparta, the lowest critically reviewed God of War in history. I think it's the most mediocre Metroidvania I have ever played. I told you guys the other day, when you start treating your IP like this, it's concerning. Apparently, they don't see their war chest of IP worthy of handing it to Bluepoint. They'd rather make God of War Sons of Sparta and a Lego Horizon game. This just feels backwards. To see great IP treated with a lack of reverence and respect while shutting down a studio who has proven to do that with solid remakes. But those are just my thoughts. Now I'm going to hear your thoughts, because this is a live stream. If you're watching this later, remember to hit like. That helps me out. Hit subscribe. That is free. We are working on a goal on the channel. We have about 500 people paying for a membership. I'd love to see that hit a 600 record for us. Consider clicking join. It's $5 a month. You get a badge, emotes, and you get into my Discord. It's how I do this full time. So help us hit that goal. Click join and grab yourself a membership. And Loch Ness is going to start things off with the first 10 bomb of the day, getting us to 260. If you guys want to stream tomorrow with Madam, you're going to have to hustle. It's you need 500. We're also going to make her play Reanimal with me. So, Bluepoint shut down. Haven and Fair Game still going strong. I got news for you. If Fair Game sees the light of day, I'll be shocked out of my dadgum chair. I can't see that game coming to the market. There's just no way. I think Horizon Hunters Gathering is going to get its butt spanked. I think the public's going to largely recoil from it. I don't think it's going to do that well, and I think that's going to make them absolutely turn, tuck, tail, and run from Fair Games. I can't imagine Fair Games seeing the light of day. It sounds like a stupid project to begin with, and they had a test that went so poorly, the lady in charge quit. Like, all right. Yeah, PlayStation out here missing layups. Like, Nova, thank you for 40 months over there on Purple, getting us to 261. Boys, check your re-ups, check your primes, check all of it. A membership coming in from Darth Nihilus. Now, was that one just gifted, or is that a brand new one? I can't. That looks like a brand new one. Yeah, that's a brand new one. There it is. Thank you so much for a brand new membership, Darth Nihilus. If you guys have never done a membership before on YouTube, we're really trying to get that goal. Like, the gifteds are great. People go crazy, but we really need folks to start grabbing their own memberships. Help us hit that goal. Click join and become a member today. Can you bring us up to speed with Fair Games? So it was going to be a competitive heist game. Then it turned into some kind of Fortnite thing, Battle Royale adjacent thing, where there were still going to be heist mechanics. You were going to, like, go down and, like, do... It sounded stupid. Like, it's so hard to remember because it sounded so dumb. I was like, there's no way they think that's a good idea. They did some kind of a test, and it got such negative feedback. The lady in charge quit. Like the same week they did a public test or something, she quit. It sounded terrible. My disappointment is high with this choice. I get that they're trying to save money. I really, really do. I totally do. The crazy thing is, most of their studios are hiring right now. Most of their studios are hiring, so it doesn't sound like all these other studios have room for trim. Like, well, could you have laid off 3 or 4 people at all your various studios, trim a little bit, keep these guys open, or at least, like I said, why not bring them in on the God of War remake? What are you doing? They were working on God of War live service, and you cancel that. And you've got Santa Monica working on a God of War trilogy remake. Well, free them up. Bring these boys in and let them work on it. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I think Sony Bend is in trouble. I'm really worried about Bend. We don't know. Like, Bend apparently got a contract signed for a new project a while ago. It sounds to me like Bluepoint didn't land on their feet after the God of War live service game was canceled. Colin with the 53-month VIP. Let me add you to the total. Thank you, Colin. So that's the only like hope I have for Bend is Bend tweeted something a while back. It seemed that they had pitched and got a new contract. They had gotten a new deal, basically approval to do a new project. It sounds like Bluepoint didn't land on their feet. And what I mean is there was nothing for them to do. If they've been doing remakes all these years, I mean, you go way back, they've also mainly been like a support studio, like they help with God of War Ragnarok. If that's mainly been their role, they likely weren't able to just pick up the ball and be like, oh, we've got a game right here we can work on right now. We've got the chops to do it. Which is why I don't understand you wouldn't have just immediately pivoted them to something that you know you want to remake or have them assist. They could have done quality assurance on the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. They could be helping with the God of War trilogy remake. I don't know. They could be looking at something like Legend of Dragoon. Like, there's so many things you could have had them doing. They're not a very big studio. You mean to tell me that Sony's books and PlayStation's books, as impressive as they are, the last couple of earnings calls that they've had, you're sitting that high in the hog, doing that well, and Bluepoint's got to go? Like, what? You know what I mean? If they would have done like a sweeping round of layoffs, I think that would make more sense. Like, 10 people here, 20 people there. Like, every studio gets a little bit of a trim to help shoulder the tariffs and the rising hardware costs. That would have made more sense to me. It's like, there's no way that Bluepoint's operational cost annually were enough to really make a dent. You guys are making so much money. Rissick comes in with a gifted. Thank you so much, Rissick. And another one from Rissick. He's setting up the 10-bomb dunker to 275. Twitch, this is your opportunity. You have less stream delay if you want to steal this milestone out from under their nose. Let's have a knockdown, drag-out fight today. Eugene says, Bluepoint is in Austin, Texas. You can't just move them to Santa Monica. I'm not saying move them. What is it? We live in a globalized, technological world. You can't give them the stuff and send it over to them? What are we talking about? Rissick bumps the line again. Just being ornery, bumps it to 266. Sony's trying to make tons of games as a service game has backfired. I knew this would happen. I don't think their efforts to do live service is the single cause here. It's how they did it. Their efforts in live service have made them tons of money. And a 10 bomb comes in from Risick. He sets up his own agent of chaos. I love that, dude. You got your own way of doing things, Risick. Guys, Risick needs a partner or two today. He cannot drag this thing all the way to 500 on his own. Drop a single, drop a 5-bomb, upgrade to VIP, do something to move this line. Do not leave it all on Risick. It's not just that they went after live service. They've made tons of money on live service. They internally celebrated the amount of revenue that Gran Turismo 7, MLB The Show, and Helldivers 2 have generated. They're internally very pleased with their live service efforts. The mistake they made, let's just think about this. I didn't even mention this in the show open. Who was the absolute brain-dead buffoon who thought a team of 100 people could launch and support a live service game? Who's this idiot? Who is this person? And a 50 bomb comes in from Risick. He sets up another one for himself. All the way there past 300 to 325. Listen, I want to see some farty bombs in the chat. That's what my son calls 50 bombs. I told you this man needs a tag team partner. You cannot expect Risick to do this all on his own. Listen, whoever thought that? Well, yeah, we can launch and support a live service game with 70 to 100 people. What are you doing? Did you do any research at all? And a 5-bomb comes in from Wired Rope and gets us to 331. Purple's still in. Absolutely still in the fight. Thank you guys for spamming those farty bombs. Let's see somebody match the man over there. And a 5-bomb comes in from Neo Reaper. The community is rising to the call. They're like, we want to hear Madam's thoughts on all this stuff. If you guys are not aware, on Saturday nights, I do a stream called Gaming News Tonight with my wife where we have her react to the gaming news. And she doesn't know about any of this stuff, so I always got to kind of bring her up to speed because she's not paying attention to it. And her opinions and thoughts on the gaming world are always very entertaining. So if you get this to 500, that's what we do. We celebrate with a Saturday night stream. You can help us out right now. If you can't do that, stick around, hit like, chat. You might get it gifted. Was Herman under Jim Ryan or was he at Gorilla? He was under Jim after Gorilla. Herman was in a prime position to take the position that he's in now. He didn't jump from Gorilla to where he is now. He was below Jim. I forget his exact title. He got a promotion, and he's continued in that role. I got news for you. Sony, the people that are calling for Herman Hulse to be fired, you're wasting your time. This was a Sony thing. This wasn't yeah, Herman, you're really screwing up. You better shut this studio down, and you're on thin ice, Mr. Herman. I remember people doing this with Jim Ryan. They were like, oh, Sony's not pleased with him. Ryan gave them a record bump every single time he was at the helm, every quarter, every year. Sony was very pleased with him. If the shareholders are happy and the stock value's going up and the profit is good, they don't give a frick about this kind of stuff. It's a cost of doing business to them. Executives at that level aren't like us. They don't get emotional about this. Siege Master with the 5-bomb bumps the line to 441, and Kaiser renews 48 months and gets us to 342. Thank you so much, Kaiser, for renewing and for Siege Master throwing in. Guys, these 5 bombs add up quick. Jack Garland with a $5 super chat says, Lono, Bluepoint closing makes a dark day in gaming. I cannot express my disappointment. Farty bomb, yes, that's right. That's right. Let me set the super chat goal because I know some of you guys, I will add a member to the total. I'll add a member to the total if you guys hit that super chat goal. Thank you guys so much. I know some of you prefer super chats. If you'd rather tip directly and bypass gems and bits and you can use the tip command as well if you'd prefer to send it to me directly. That is an option also. But the executives don't get emotional like this. You guys are out here calling for, Herman Hulse to be fired. At an executive level and the numbers they're posting, Sony has no level of concern right now at all for how things are going. They're posting good numbers, y'all. They're hitting MAU records. They're at pace with the PS4, and they did not expect to be. Internally, they are very, very pleased with where the PlayStation 5 is sitting. They expected a significant slowdown because they couldn't do the mid-gen price drop. They did a mid-gen price increase. They're very pleased with where they are. There is no way, I don't think this is going to happen. If it happens, maybe there's other things going on behind the scenes that I'm not aware of. From where I sit, Sony is not about to walk in the room and get rid of Herman Holst. They're like, no, yeah, we're making money. You're doing a good job. Thanks so much. You just got to shut them down over there. You got to find a way to reduce costs. We got tariffs. We got rising RAM costs. We got production problems facing us post-Christmas of 2026. That's what's playing here. That's what's at play, is they're looking at a bigger picture, and unfortunately, Bluepoint doesn't fit into the picture. That's the long and short of it. The emotion over like 70 people getting laid off is wild. I think you're missing the forest for the trees. This is a fan base that you have grown with IP and treatment of that IP with remakes and remasters. And you just shut down a studio that could have every 3 years just dropped a dunker. I watched Delayed Input. What's his name? Kyle Bozeman, is that his name? I believe that's his name. Delayed Input this morning. And the point that he made I thought was so good. And don't frickin' deny this. If you deny this, I'll find you and I'll tell you you're a liar to your face. If Bluepoint's logo would have popped up during the last State of Play, everyone would have been like, oh, they got something. You would have been excited. The PlayStation fans would have been like, yo, Bluepoint's about to drop another banger. A $10 super chat from the OA. The only way this makes sense is if Sony's internal policy is to never force a studio to something they're unwilling to do, and they haven't pitched anything good enough to get the green light. If their logo would have popped up in the State of Play, people would have been pumped. They'd have been like, yo, what do they do this time? To take that, it's an opportunity loss. It's not like, I'm not sitting here virtue signaling layoffs. I think that's empty and hollow. And when people do it, it always feels super opportunistic. It's like you're just trying to look impressive and good in front of the public. Cut it out. Like, this to me is 100% a massive opportunity loss. It's like, you have so much IP and you have a user base that supports remakes and remasters. What are you doing in the weeks that you announced the God of War Trilogy remake? You let go a God-tier remake studio. What are you doing? Siege Master with another single bumps a line to 343. He's probably going to fish for a 5-bomb here to 350. I owe YouTube 2 members. Keep it going. It'll end up being a 5-bomb, boys. Twitch, you got a hype train that y'all aren't cashing in on. Hit that momentum. You got a minute. I don't know, Lono. When I see Bluepoint logo, I don't tend to give it a second thought. Siege with another gifted. Homie, I'm telling you, the PlayStation audience would have been excited if Bluepoint's logo showed up in that State of Play. People would have been pumped. I bet you if their logo popped up before the God of War Trilogy remake, people would have been more excited. They'd have been like, oh, they brought in the God Squad. These guys are going to do great work. Don't sit here and act like you wouldn't have been excited about that. And another gifted comes in from Siege Master. There it is. The 5-bomb dunker's waiting. Reckless says, I'm with Sirio and Eugene on this one. I'm not seeing a travesty or massive injustice here. I'm talking. Listen to what I'm saying. The people that when you have a studio that has cohesion and a working knowledge, and they had people from Retro as well that are like really, really good in this environment, and you have a war chest of IP that you could just basically hand to them. Now, maybe behind the scenes, Bluepoint was like, we really don't want to do remakes anymore. We would really like to work on this project here. They were working on something around the time they were acquired, and I don't think it was the God of War live service game. Wired Rope extends the hype train and steals the milestone. 350 goes to Purple, and I owe them a member. You guys are almost on that runway to 500. Good work. Thank you so much, Wired Rope. Kaiser Soze comes over here with 10 months and a prime on Purple to keep things going. I appreciate that so much. I'm not sitting here like wringing my hands over like, oh no, you guys keep talking about 70 people. It's about what they were capable of. They could have been dropping a dunker every 3 years, just adding to the cadence of games. Talus Gaming was 6 months, not as long as y'all, but I can't read the rest of it. What's it say? Not as long as y'all, 12 months plus, but every prime. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. You guys dropping your primes on my purple, that adds up. There's like, I don't know, 50 or 60 of you every month that do that. Thank you very much for doing that. Eugene says the franchises people are wanting remade didn't sell well. That's why they were shelved and haven't been remade. People are upset at a reality that wasn't possible. They're not going to remake games. So they decide to remake God of War 1 through 3, Eugene, and you don't think Bluepoint could have helped with that? Could have shouldered some of the bandwidth? You're like, oh, but they're not close enough to Santa Monica. You could still have them working on stuff. What are we talking about? Yeah, they're not in Santa Monica. Don't you find it remarkable then how they helped ship God of War Ragnarok then? How'd they do that in Texas? We live in a digital world. We live in a digital world. They help with God of War Ragnarok. These guys already have a working knowledge of the IP and have already worked with Santa Monica. And in the wake of announcing God of War Remake Trilogy, you're like, yeah, we got rid of the remake boys. Like, huh? It doesn't make any sense. Yo, Gary, I'm going to call you Gary. Thank you for 9 months, Gary. Adding to the total, we're at 353. Imagine them making Team Asobi go full live service. You know what the only good outcome from this, is that PlayStation's going to be super gun shy, taking any of their existing single player first party studios and having them do live service. It has been absolutely reckless. I do not think that Horizon Hunters Gathering is going to do that well. I think they're going to see that as a loss. I think Guerrilla's okay. Guerrilla's still very valuable. The Decim engine's massively valuable to them. And the Horizon franchise is not going anywhere, okay? It's not going anywhere. But I'm here to tell you, I think the best thing to come out of all of this is they stop making or having or allowing or approving their first-party single-player studios making dadgum live service games. It's stupid. It's stupid now, and it was stupid back then. Get people that know what they're doing. If I have to choose between Santa Monica devs and Bluepoint, I'm choosing Santa Monica all day. I would rather Santa Monica be working on something new. You've got Cory Barlog's project. We've got another God of War. I would rather Santa Monica be working on those things. And you could bring in Bluepoint. And even if you only bring in Bluepoint to do what they did with Ragnarok, Eugene, they just have to come in and assist. They're familiar with the IP. They've worked with Santa Monica before. You bring them in and you help bring the remakes to market faster. Maybe shoulder some of that bandwidth burden so people can get to work on Barlog's game or the next God of War game. I'm not trying to do this Monday morning quarterback thing here. It just seems insane to me to have a war chest of IP and to not see Bluepoint as a long-term play. They're a long-term play. Listen to what I'm saying. They're the cost of business. They're not that expensive to run. They're not a very big studio. And you can consistently have a cadence of remakes. And if you want to be like, oh, but the remakes don't sell that well, they don't generate that much revenue. I understand that, but that's still an optics perspective. That's still a long-term view of the market. These guys are going to be here to help us keep this cadence. These guys are going to be here to help us bring great IP back into the market. Yeah, I mean, I'm being told, and I'm going to keep this very, very generic. I'm being told that the main issue here and the theories that are swirling is it just literally comes down to they didn't do anything in the 6 years, and that's why this happened. This is a basic number crunch. This is a spreadsheet calculation. But if I'm Sony, you've got to look at the bigger picture. You've got to have a longer-term view of this. These guys have done great work, whether it was the Uncharted collection or Shadow of the Colossus or Demon Souls Remake. These guys have done good work. Demon Souls Remake sells like 1.5 million. Shadow of the Colossus sells a little over 1 million. The Uncharted collection sells close to 3 million. These guys were bringing something to the table, dadgummit. Like, you can't act like, oh yeah, all that was just, a waste. They haven't made anything in 6 years. Yes, because they wasted their time on a live service game. If you don't calculate that into the equation, that's why I say this is a short-sighted decision. A short-sighted short-sighted decision. We have wailed on Microsoft for the same problem. We have wailed on them for their short-sightedness. And it's like, you guys focus on this right now and this revenue number right now and this spreadsheet right now instead of procuring and fostering talent. I have said time and time again that I think Microsoft is absolutely acidic to creative process. I don't think they understand how to bring a creative endeavor to market. They're bad at it because they're short-sighted. They're quick to kill something. They're quick to be absolutely utilitarian, like what they did with the Hi-Fi Rush studio. That's what this feels like. This feels like an absolute number crunch, short-sighted idea. Instead of thinking, you know what? We made a miscalculation with God of War Live Service. Let's clean slate this, okay? Yes, since Demon's Souls remake, you haven't brought anything to the table. That's not entirely your fault. That's not entirely your fault. 6 years is a long time. Right, but you're discounting other things that they did, 187. Look at the success of God of War Ragnarok. Bluepoint helped that thing cross the finish line. So they finished shipping Demon's Souls remake, and they helped Santa Monica get Ragnarok out the dadgum door. And you know there were rumors swirling about Ragnarok having trouble and Ragnarok getting delayed. These boys come in and help get that game across the finish line. So don't sit here and do this. They haven't done anything for 6 years. Oh, you mean 4 years ago when they helped one of your biggest pieces of property drop a banger and sell like crazy? We're just going to act like that didn't happen 4 years ago? They don't get credit for that? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And then you put them on a God of War Live Service game. So from 2023 to 2025, roughly 2 years, they wasted time on a God of War Live Service game. Shutting them down because of that is absurd. Like I said, it's a short-sighted decision. They give you an amazing, highly critically acclaimed remake. They help with things like the Uncharted collection. They helped God of War Ragnarok get out the dadgum door. They waste 2 years of time on a God of War Live Service game, and their punishment is to get shut down? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. They brought value to the table. And I'm not sitting here doing this like, oh, let's all boohoo and cry for layoffs. Layoffs suck. They're terrible. They're happening all over the dadgum industry. This is about massive, massive opportunity loss for such a short gain. What a short gain. Oh, wow, your operational costs went down by the amount of Bluepoint's annual budget. Wow. What a big, huge amount of money that you just saved. The frick out of here. The only thing I could see that would make Sony do something like this is the future is so volatile and so tense. They're like, we got to tighten every section, every little thing we can, even if it's a small studio like Bluepoint. That's the only thing I can see here. It doesn't make an ounce of sense outside of that. Is they're super, super trepidatious about the future. They're like, listen, it's about to get bad after 2026. And we got to have every single studio, every single nugget of potential revenue needs to be churning out something. Bluepoint, sorry to tell you, you guys haven't done anything in too long. And the timeline of whatever you work on next is too far away. The sight line's too long. That's the only thing I can think they said. I still think that's incredibly stupid. I still think it's incredibly stupid. These guys helped your generation get off the dadgum ground. They gave you a launch title. They gave you Demon's Souls remake. They gave you 2 years in one of your biggest titles this gen, God of War Ragnarok. They helped with that project. For this to happen to them it's absurd. It's not like they sat around for the last 6 years and didn't do anything. I don't think people realize the kind of economic crisis that is coming that we are already in. I think that's why this was done. The reason, I'll tell you this also. I think the reason that people are very shocked and upset by this, it doesn't seem characteristic of Sony. Some of the studios they've closed down, when you really looked at them, it was like there was literally nothing to give them credit for. This studio's got some stuff in their pocket to be like, what are you doing? Just give Microsoft 2 weeks to step on a rake. I don't know. I feel like if Microsoft was going to do their layoffs, they'd already done it. They like to do them in January. I feel like they like to do them in January because don't they have an earnings call in January? I feel like they do. Or at least they do like an earnings Q&A or something. They do something with the shareholders in January. I feel like they like to do their layoffs in January. I think they would have already done them. Zero Connection with the €5 super chat says, what do you think will happen to the talent? Do you think the majority will be absorbed into other studios? They haven't said. I tell you what, every single one of these employees should be doing is they should picking up the phone and they should be calling Santa Monica. They should be calling Santa Monica and be like, you got room? We worked with you with Ragnarok. We can do good remakes. We can come over there and fold right into whatever you're working on. Do you need help with God of War Egypt? Do you need help with Barlog's project? Do you need help with the remakes? That's what I'd be doing. I'd be trying to get as many of them over there that make sense. Don't overhire and mushroom so that you're laying them off again in 2 years. But, like, get some of them over there at Santa Monica is what I would be trying to do. If there's room. To be fair, Bluepoint's annual budget is the difference between an exec getting a bonus and not getting a bonus. Also, with the current world economy, I understand why a U.S.-based company was on the chopping block. Why would a U.S.-based company be on the chopping block? Explain that one to me, Fuzzy. Wouldn't you be safer? Maybe I'm thinking about this backwards. I am not an economist by any stretch. Why would being based in the U.S. make them a prime target? I feel like that would make you a safer target. Unless you're saying it because their annual budgets and salaries are higher than other regions of the world. The new jobs numbers, 180,000. Oh, hang on, it just disappeared. They have until March. My money says almost all 70 of them landed another PlayStation studio. What when they say March, do they mean like March 1st or they mean like sometime in March? Is the God of War remake announcement right before closing Bluepoint does seem like a coincidence. It's so hard to ignore the timing, gangs. It's like, what the frick are y'all doing over there? These guys did the Demon Souls remake. What are we doing? You couldn't. I am shocked. Unless Miyazaki wants to be involved. That was Shuhei Yoshida's theory, is that Miyazaki won't say yes to the Bloodborne remake because he wants to be involved. He's done interviews where like Bloodborne's very special to him. So he probably hasn't ever given it his blessing because, you know, he wants to be involved. And even though it's Sony's call at the end of the day, I don't think they want any bad blood with Miyazaki. The man is a saint in the industry to many people, and they want that relationship with FromSoft to be, you know, and their parent company. Sony's helped their parent company numerous times now. What, 2 different times? I think Sony has stepped in to ensure that they don't get they did something with shares, right, to protect them from like a Korean buyout or something. I don't think Sony wants to sour the relationship with Miyazaki and FromSoft and what's her name, Katakawa. Like, that's more than likely playing a role. 108,000 jobs created last year. It's not anywhere close enough to what's required. It's the equivalent of 300 new jobs per state per month. Disastrous. Sony has had so many old IPs to remake and remaster. I mean, eventually majority development will be outsourced to China like every other industry. Maybe. If you guys are just tuning in, do me a favor, hit that like button. We're only about 30 minutes into the show. I'm not happy. I think this is a major mistake. I think this is so short-sighted to let a studio like this, of this size, they're so small and yet so talented. Like, you talk about density. You know, to let that go, I think is short-sighted. He does think, hang on. He does think, he did an interview on it saying he wants to do it but was waiting for a certain level of tech to come. Yeah, that's right. He said something recently. Again, I don't know what he's waiting for. You know, I'm not sure what he has in mind, but you know, now seems like the perfect time to be quite honest with you. But Sony has more physical games than Xbox. Just go to the store. I'm not sure why you're bringing that up. Sony has bought 5 studios since 2020 and shut down 3 of them, and the others had layoffs. This is a management issue. Well, is it a management issue, or is it part and parcel to the risk when you do acquisitions like that? Right? They traditionally, they would bring studios into the fold after working with them. Okay? They didn't do that with Firewalk. So that right there shows you the recipe is better. You work with them, then you bring them under the fold. And I wonder if stuff like this is the reason. It's like, you end up doing an acquisition and the risk is high. I don't know if you guys are going to fold in well or do well. You just increase our operational costs by X number of dollars. If Microsoft keeps the pattern, we might see more in April. Maybe. There were people that were pretty strong out there saying that like gaming wasn't getting any hit with any layoffs this year over there at Microsoft. Some of those acquisitions were a foolish response to Microsoft. Yeah, I think the Firewalk acquisition was 100% like a, hey, let's try to get a live service shooter out here. Like, I really think that was the idea. Oh, they've got Bungie people, they've got pedigree, this thing's going to be huge. I think that was what that was for, and look what happened. The only thing that drives me nuts about Concord is people keep running around stating, oh, they spent $400 million on Concord. That drives me absolutely insane. It just drives me nuts. It's like, listen, this Bluepoint situation sucks. Can we stop saying that PlayStation spent $400 million on Concord? It wasn't their money. It was a round of $200 million in investment that includes like Jerry Jones, and then there was a second round of $200 million. Like Colin specifically stated this when he broke that story, and everyone leaves that out and says PlayStation spent $400 million on Concord. It's like, no, they didn't. That funding came from outside of Sony. Sony was left holding the bag of the acquisition and all operational and publishing dollars that was spent to bring Concord to the market. They certainly lost, but they didn't spend $400 million dadgum dollars on that game. That didn't come from them. That $400 million wasn't even all for Concord. It was Firewalk procuring investments and funds for all sorts of projects. They were not only working on Concord. Companies bought up so much because of COVID, and now it's all shrinking. That was one of the reasons that Firewalk was able to get so much funding. That was one of the reasons. It was because of COVID. Tons of people were spinning up games and getting funding and starting projects back then. It's why I've been so critical of games like Highguard and Horizon Hunter's Gathering. It's like, you guys looked at the market and wanted to make a buck. Save all your sanctimonious, we were an indie title, we were just trying to make it. Man, shut the frick up. You were trying to make money. Just admit it. You saw the market, you thought you were going to get the bag, and it blew up in your face because you've got some hollow game that made corporate guys rub their hands together. I'm telling you, that's why all these games look like this. They're not made for gamers. They're made for executives. That's it. You look at Highguard, you look at Horizon Hunter's Gathering, and you look at Concord, you know what they all have in common? They're games made for executives. They're not made for us. Remember when the guys over there at Obsidian did the interview, and they said when they were shopping Avowed, they kept stressing multiplayer because they knew that was a fast way to get money? I think that's a really big insight into what was going on from 2018 to 2021. That's what was going on. That's why all these games look like this. Because that's the easiest way to get an executive to go, oh, like why? You're signaling to them, yeah, Fortnite, yeah, you see that? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we're gonna make a lot of money here. It's for an executive. I think that's one of the reasons. All that toxic positivity that guy put in his Twitter post. It's because that's who was saying it. People that are completely disconnected from the gaming world, higher ups, executives, the guys that are like, oh yeah, we're about to make some money, dude. Look at this game. Yeah, there's no way this game's gonna flop. Spoken like a C-suite. That doesn't sound like a person who actually plays these games. It doesn't. It makes sense. The 400 million's an insane amount. They didn't have them. They didn't own Firewalk long enough to spend $400 million. Jiminy Christmas. What'd they spend it on? Heroin and hookers? Like, there's no way in the amount of time that they own Firewalk they could spend $400 million. The only thing that makes this make sense is if Bluepoint didn't want to do any more remakes. I think that's fundamentally, a la Park, I think a handful of things potentially happened. Okay. I think they wanted to go back to their original plan, probably. I think they had a game they were working on prior to helping with the God of War Ragnarok ship date and working on a God of War live service game. They were working on something new. Now, maybe when they said that, they were talking about the God of War live service game. I don't know. Everybody was under the impression that Bluepoint was working on something new. And maybe they wanted to go back to that. And maybe PlayStation was like, no, we don't think that that's going to work. Also, Herman Hulst indicated, not just Herman Hulst, it was somebody else, they were going to have more quality gates. After what happened with Concord, I think they're being more rigid. And I think do you remember what happened with Naughty Dog? Do you guys remember? Start putting all these puzzle pieces together, okay? Start putting them all together in the timing here. What did we just get done talking about with Naughty Dog? Forced overtime. And everybody got all sanctimonious and self-righteous about it, even though it lasted 7 weeks, and now they're no longer doing it. They did it. Why did they do it? Do you remember? They needed to get a playable demo in front of PlayStation. They needed to get something. They needed to hit a quality check, a quality gate. And I'm here to tell you, Bluepoint went through the same process at the end of last year, and they didn't pass. That's what happened, I think. I think PlayStation's being a lot more rigid, and they're like, no more Concords. Nope. Show us what you got, and it better be good. And if it's not good, you can pack your bags. I think they're being that ruthless. Now, some of this is because of Concord. Some of this is because of the financial, struggles and tariffs and rising hardware costs that they're facing. They're trying to get rid of every nickel and dime that doesn't need to be spent, would be my guess, which is why I'd be worried about Bend. If I may, I'm kind of scared for Marathon release, says Draco. I really enjoyed playing Destiny since the release of every other DLC. Right now it's super slow, and I'm a big fan of extraction shooters, and Marathon got me super intrigued, just hoping it will not get super bashed. They didn't help Marathon at all yesterday. That was pretty unkind to do. Like, you guys know that I don't think Marathon has what it takes. I think Marathon runs out of gas really quickly and doesn't have enough longevity and enough re-engagement. I think it'll be commercially successful in the early weeks, but after that I think the player base is going to drop off. That's been my opinion for a while. But boy, oh boy, did they walk them out like a lamb to slaughter yesterday. They're like, oh yeah, Bluepoint's being shut down, and somebody couldn't say, listen, this is just a word to all social media managers, all right? You need to develop a crisis button. And you got to hit that crisis button to stop all scheduled tweets. Okay? This happened to Xbox. Remember? They laid off all the people, and then the tweet went out about the controller that said feel the burn, and they got absolutely lambasted for it. Same exact thing happened yesterday. The Bluepoint news hits, and then they push out a Marathon trailer. You got to have somebody on your social media teams that can read the room to either cancel the scheduled tweet, or that thing should have been deleted. Oops, and just delete it and be like, yeah, so now's not the time for that. Because the comments on that thing are brutal. They're brutal. People are mad. They're like, God, I'd rather had Bluepoint than this crap. You got to have your social media teams with a crisis button. They got to be able to hit a button somewhere that just cancels all social activity for 24 hours. I saw that happening. No company is going to keep a dev team strictly for remakes. They've never made their own IP. What do you mean they're never going to keep a company strictly for remakes? Do you remember? What do you think made them purchase Bluepoint? They had done Shadow of the Colossus. They helped with Uncharted Collection. And then they did the Demon's Souls remake. And then they were purchased. So you can't be like, yeah, they'd never do that. What the heck did they buy them for? No, I've not watched any of the Olympics. I've been too busy. Could we get 19 more likes on the video? Y'all, every time you come in, if I'm here yapping and chatting, it's because I get support from y'all to do this every day. So take a quick second and go through that ritual. You can even just say hello or good morning or spam an emote in chat. That also helps. Hit that like button. Hit a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, that is free. You do not have to subscribe to my channel to talk in the chat. And we are working on a goal. We're trying to get up to 600 people with memberships on the channel. So if you've never done that before, consider clicking join and becoming one. And also this right here is a weekly thing that we do to unlock Saturday night. The divide between single player and live service games is growing even bigger. How do you figure? What? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Because Xbox went crazy buying studios? So you think PlayStation bought Bluepoint, 70-something people that made a remake. You think they bought Bluepoint because of Xbox? I really don't think so. I don't think that this is a purchase. I think they definitely made some purchases that were probably in response to Xbox, but not that. This guy says, I saw your article about Clickout Media Pivot and thought we should connect. Here's a 60-second vid on what we do at Omnic AI. I thought you would appreciate as a cover gaming space and the AI platform for gamers. Mike Strauss like, can you read the room? Listen to me. I'm frustrated and disappointed. I thought this could have been a great company to keep on and to launch bangers every couple of years. Okay, maybe they didn't want to do remakes, whatever. We can debate that. Here's the thing. This thing that people are doing where they're like, yep, all we get is live service now. It's just been a disaster this gen. Okay, that's not accurate. We have gotten a very steady stream of first, second, and third party single player exclusives. Just last year, two of the biggest games last year, Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei. This year, you're getting Saros, you're getting Phantom Blade Zero, you're getting Wolverine, you're getting, I think, a Silent Hill exclusive. I'm probably forgetting some. This idea that, like, yeah, live service has just ruined it. That's all we're getting now. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, I get the frustration, but can we live in reality, please, with our frustrations and our criticisms? Like that, where do you see this? Like, oh, we just can't get any games now, man. All it is live service. Did you play Returnal, Ratchet and Clank? Did you play the Demon's Souls remake that these guys made? Did you? What about Forbidden West and God of War and Gran Turismo 7? What about Astrobot and Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? What about all those games? Did you play any of those games? Like, they consistently have brought first, second, and third party exclusives to the platform that aren't live service. Their studios have, as far as we can tell, hopefully, have just completely moved on, except for Horizon Hunters Gathering. I really hope that Ben's next game is not another live service. I don't think they can support it. They don't. How could you possibly just guess your way through a live service launch? Yeah, Kena Bridge of Spirits was a console exclusive. It launched on PC. The next one's doing the same thing. They're consistently backing single-player projects and single-player studio stuff. Now, you know, the China Hero project hasn't yielded great results yet because Lost Soul Aside was not very good. But that was another thing. I'm talking about principle here and philosophy, not necessarily quality, because yeah, Lost Soul Aside wasn't great. But that's still an indication that PlayStation sees value in partnering with, publishing, backing, and supporting single-player games. Yeah, Herman Smith's gut. That is such a terrible picture. Thank you so much for that membership. Let me add you to the total. The idea that, like, oh, we get his live service now and all the single-player games are gone. I'm like, come on, dude. Enough with that. That's not true at all. I will be the first in line to criticize and say, stop having your single-player studios and your first-party studios work on live service. It's stupid. Why did you think a 70-person studio could launch and support a live service game? I'll never know why they thought that. But that doesn't mean that that's all we're getting. That's an absurd notion. Some of the most anticipated single-player games this year are coming from PlayStation. Saros, Phantom Blade Zero, and Wolverine are at the top of tons of lists this year. Those are three highly anticipated single-player games. Like, come on now. Being upset's fine. Being critical's fine. Let's not make up a phantom to yell at. Demon's Souls moved PS5s? I don't think it moved, but I think they deserve credit for having a very, very high-quality, high-reviewed launch title. They deserve credit for that. They deserve credit for helping God of War Ragnarok get out the door. They helped Santa Monica get God of War Ragnarok out the door. They deserve credit for that. The first 2 years of the gen, these guys were in the trenches helping you get stuff out the door to give you things to promote and talk about. And then they wasted 2 years on a God of War live service game. I'd have dusted them off and been like, all right, what can we do that makes it worth keeping you around? 45 months from Cal. Cal, thank you so much. Let me add it to the total. We are officially 20 members away from the next milestone. Whoever hits it gets it. We've had a 10 bomb this week and a 50 bomb this week. Who wants to be the first 20? China Hero Project released 8 games. Yeah, they've been smaller, but that's the other thing you have to see. I am not going to sit here and blow smoke. Get out of here. I'm not going to blow smoke and act like these have all been amazing, but it shows a posture that PlayStation is not running away from single player and only doing live service. XCal, thank you for 43 months over there on Purple as well. Double dipping, boom, 356. They did Fist. These are all games they published through China Hero. Fist, Anno Mutationum or whatever, Hardcore Mecha, Immortal Legacy or whatever, Animal Force, and Nightmare, Lost Soul Aside, Evo Tinction, Awaken Astral Blade, and AI Limit. These have all games that have come out, and they haven't done amazing. They haven't done poor. They've all been pretty fine. But this still demonstrates a posture from PlayStation. They also have these ones coming: Godslayer, Brocade Cladguard, Exilage, Dabaland of Waterscar, Lulin, Willis. Okay. Unending Dawn, The Winds Rising. Now, some of these, I think 2 of these are live service. I think 2. But if you can get a successful live service in the Chinese market, you're going to print dadgum money. Mike Moore with a Member Plus renewal and a super chat coming in. A £5 super chat from SDO. Lono, I'm with you. Amazing gen for single-player games, especially on the PS5, but I'm angry about the Bluepoint news. I wanted a Bluepoint Bloodborne remake. Yeah, I did too. So I'm not showing you those games to act like all those games were amazing. What I'm saying is this shows the posture from PlayStation is not, yep, all that matters is live service. You know, Code Violet, PlayStation didn't publish that. Concord, sure. Flop and a failure. Forspoken. I don't think necessarily Forspoken was did they publish that? I don't actually remember. Wasn't that like a Square Enix thing? I don't actually remember the publisher. It was published by Square Enix, so try again. That's a swing and a miss if I've ever seen one. You just cited games that PlayStation had like 0 publishing attachment to. XCal with a 10 bomb on Twitch and gets us to 367. Like, Kylo, Code Violet has nothing to do with PlayStation. That's some crappy little studio that makes garbage games. Forspoken was published by Square Enix. So yeah, you can hang Concord on them, but like, again, what I'm trying to demonstrate is that PlayStation's posture is not, we don't want to do single player anymore. It's all about the live service. They're consistently backing single player games, entering into exclusivity agreements with single player games, and publishing single player games. Vibe with a £10 super chat. He says if they had sense, they would ship the talent from Bluepoint to Santa Monica to work on the remakes of God of War so that those games could get out in time. That's what I was saying, Vibe. I was like, why wouldn't you have these guys helping with the God of War trilogy remakes? They help with Ragnarok. They've already worked on God of War property. Maybe they didn't want to. Hidden Siriu with a 10 bomb on YouTube. And I now owe YouTube 3 members. I'm holding out for when I owe you a 5 bomb, boys. We're on the runway to 500. Thank you so much. Yeah, Forspoken was bad, but it wasn't like Code Violet and Concord bad, like Jiminy freaking Christmas. Like, Forspoken doesn't deserve to be in that list. Come on. Also, for every time you want to bring up Concord, we can list just an armada of highly reviewed, award-winning single-player games this gen. Like, every time you're like, yeah, but Concord, though, and I'm going to be like, Returnal, Ratchet & Clank, Demon's Souls Remake, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, Ghost of Yotei. Like, but Concord, though, yeah, they've got an armada of high-quality, single-player, award-winning games that have come out this gen. Like, what do the kids say these days? Stop the cap? Yeah, stop that. It's so embarrassing to try to act like this whole gen gets summarized by a single game's failure. Like, really? Like, come on. That's like acting like Forza Horizon 5 isn't any good because of Redfall. That's stupid. Like, yeah, but Redfall, though. Yeah, but Forza Horizon 5 is an amazing game that demonstrates the technology of the Series X. In fact, I think Forza Horizon 5 is an indictment of how much the Series X wasn't used. Helldivers 2 is a game of service and is massive. the live service debate, and Terminal Stupidity comes in with a 10 bomb. Oh, some of the big boys are here today, and they're dropping bombs. We got a bit of a 10 bomb train now. We got a 10 bomb on Twitch from Cardoc Ren, one from Hidden Seer and one from Terminal Stupidity. Keep it going, boys. Somehow Bungie and Haven are still allowed to stay open. Okay, so I saw a lot of people bring this up, and this is a remarkable lack of knowledge, and I'm not trying to be mean, but boy, oh boy, do you guys have like a weird view of this. If you're like, well, somehow Bungie's able to stay open. Yeah, Bungie has like over 800 employees, incredibly value infrastructure, and Destiny 2 still makes money. Like, don't get it twisted. Bungie is still incredibly valuable to PlayStation, even if they have to shrink and lay people off again. That is a very, very valuable asset. It's not a 70-person studio. It's close to 1,000-employee studio with incredibly value infrastructure. And here comes some big ones. And a £5 super chat comes in from Vibe. He says, of all the people losing their jobs at PlayStation, why is Herman Hull still there? Because PlayStation's boasting of great numbers. That's why, brother. That's all he's supposed to do. He's not supposed to make you feel good about studios staying open. And a 20 bomb comes in from British and gets us to 407. We're in the runway now. Listen. We talked about this earlier. Herman Hulse ain't in danger. He's giving Sony and PlayStation what they want. They're getting numbers. They're making money, dude. What do you mean? The incoming economic struggles of both hardware and tariffs, they're existing now and they're forthcoming. That's why this thing is happening. You got to understand, the C-suite and the shareholders aren't like, yeah, that Herman Hulst, he's got to go. He looks like a James Bond villain. Nobody's saying that. At the C-suite level, at the executive level, at the shareholder level. People on Twitter say it because they're really angry, but ain't no way anybody at that level is like, oh yeah, dude, this is a real big problem. We just boasted like 3 fiscal periods in a row of growth and record MAU and more money than we've ever made in a generation before. Yeah, get this guy out of here. They don't care about this sort of thing. You understand at their level, this is a necessary thing to ensure share value going up and profits going up. Like, they're 100% not worried about this in the least. They're not upset by this. Ain't no shareholders or C-suite or executive or board members on Twitter putting hashtag fire Herman Hulst. Isn't that bad, losing jobs? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think a shareholder cares about that? There are articles written about how layoffs and studio closures are a contagion. They're an economic contagion because once somebody does it, other people are like, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing that? If we did some layoffs, we could have operational costs go down, profit margins go up, we make more money, we get bonuses. It 100% is a contagion. It's an economic contagion. You think these corporate suits give a frick about closing a studio down or letting people go? It's a means to an end. Ain't no shareholder being like, oh no, or some board member or some C-suite getting a bonus. They're not like, oh no, we had to lay people off. They don't frickin' care. It's a means to an end. Whenever you get a chance later. Why are companies laying off workers while making record profits? Oh, does this article talk about the contagion effect and why they do it? It's 100%. It's 100% something that basically it's one of the fastest routes to ensuring profit and share value going up. It's one of the fastest routes. Oh man, we're making a ton of money. Trim the fat. Do you see? Yeah, we're making a ton of money. Yeah, trim the fat. Why? We'll automatically make more. It's that simple. It sucks, but that's the reality. £5 from Vibe. Let's be honest. Is Herman making the money for PlayStation, or is PlayStation making the money because they have become the default console? I mean, Vibe, I am not going to give him credit for all of the success that's going on. I'm going to reset the goal. You guys made it rain confetti in the chat. You can make it rain confetti again. And I officially now owe you guys 5 members, so I'm going to do it. You guys did it combined with the member goals and the super chat goals. I've not done a 5 bomb in a while. Here it comes. Listen, You got to understand something. I'm not going to sit here and act like where PlayStation is sitting right now, it's all because of Herman Holst. There were tons of good moves made by Sean Layden. There were good moves made by Shuhei Yoshida. There were good moves made by Jim Ryan. You can hate Jim Ryan all you want. He made some smart plays. I think he overestimated the live service target, and I think it's hurting us right now. It's hurting the brand. It's hurting the consumer. But it's never as simple as like everything's great right now, and it's all because of Herman Holst and his wonderful cheekbones. No, it's never that simple. But if he's at the helm and they're posting good fiscal results, nobody's considering firing him. A stable capitalistic society requires people to be able to afford to buy stuff, otherwise it will collapse. I'm not opposed to that eventually, but getting to post-scarcity will be uncomfortable. Sure. I am Grumpy Old Man Gaming says, I love your talk show. Thanks for watching 5 days in a row. Matt Piscatella just posted January numbers on Blue Sky. Wait, that voice was pretty good. Thank you. I dabble in voices. Well, no, I don't know if this is accurate, says Bread My Butter, but do you think AI could have something to do with Bluepoint being taken away? Seems like AI could help with remakes. I could be wrong. I really hope not. Gosh, I hope not. I know Microsoft's boasting about that already, preemptively. Microsoft's already boasting about that preemptively, like using AI to do remakes. And good golly, do I hope that's not what we're looking at. Because if you think, I got news for these corporate heads, you're gonna be saying the same thing you said when you went after all these live service efforts. Well, that was foolhardy. I'm telling you right now, they're going to say the same stinking thing. They all went chasing live service, and they're all like, well, that was foolhardy, you know? And they did make money. They did. They made money in live service. But if you think AI can do what Bluepoint did, you're freaking dreaming. You are freaking dreaming. AI will never, ever, in our lifetime, hit the degree of quality that Bluepoint did. There's no freaking way. AI could help. AI could assist. AI could speed things up, surely. But if you think you're going to be able to just be like, yeah, let's just use AI to do remakes. Jiminy freaking Christmas. I have severe doubts that will lead to anything close to the quality of what we got from Bluepoint in the Demon's Souls remake. Like, not even close. Now, maybe in 15 years, sure. But the level of care and attention that it takes to do something at that level, Riddish says, do you think Sony wanted Bluepoint to remake another game and Bluepoint refused? At this moment, Riddish, what I think happened is this. If I had to guess, if I was on a quiz show and someone said, make your best guess, and the closest you are to what happened, we'll award you money. This is what I would say happened. I would say Bluepoint had something in mind even before the God of War live service game. I think they had a taste of like, we want to make our own game. And I think they pitched that to Sony. Okay? I think the timeline between when God of War live service was canceled and the timeline to where they had to have proof of concept and something to show Sony, in that timeline, whatever they had either wasn't ready or wasn't impressive enough. And the calculation was made. Time to market for this project is X number of years. Estimations on sales and profit is this. We can't justify keeping you open. That's what I think essentially happened. They either spun their tires for 12 months and couldn't come up with a good idea, or whatever idea they had wasn't solvent or potent enough for them to say, yeah, time to market for this project's probably 4 years minimum if you guys really hustle, and the amount of profit that you're going to generate, the amount of revenue you're going to generate, it's not enough to warrant keeping you open. You guys haven't generated revenue in the last 6 years. It's not their fault, but I think that's what the C-suite, that's what the executives decided. They were like, yeah, you guys, in 6 years, you haven't moved the needle. And I don't fault them for that. I think it's ridiculous to ignore the fact that they had a high-quality next-gen remake, so you had a good launch title for the PS5. They helped God of War Ragnarok get out the door. And that's 2022, by the way. So for 4 years, they don't bring anything to the table. 2 to 3 of those years is spent on a God of War live service game. Who's to blame there? Them or the leadership that greenlit it? Meanwhile, Media Molecule hasn't done anything in almost 10 years. Moral of the story, work at Media Molecule, you are bulletproof. Either Media Molecule knows where the bodies are, or I think that they just do a lot of support work. So they're just, I wonder if that's what they do. Do they just do a bunch of QA and support work? So have they just become a fixture in the company? I don't know. I thought the last we heard, Media Molecule was just doing a bunch of support work. I don't even know if they're making anything right now. How big is Media Molecule? How big is Media Molecule? The medium-sized UK-based game developer, about 135 employees. Yeah. They could have been available for Ragnarok because their original IP was bad. Right, like I'm saying, Eugene, if I had to guess what happened, they went back and said, hey, we really want to work on this original IP. And whatever they worked on from January 25, we know that Naughty Dog did required overtime so that they could put a demo in front of PlayStation of Intergalactic. Right? We know this. I think Bluepoint was facing the same gauntlet. And whatever they brought to the table was either bad, not impressive enough, or they just crunched the numbers and said, listen, it's going to take you 4 to 5 years to bring this to the market. Estimated sales on a project like this aren't high enough. You guys haven't shipped anything since the Demon's Souls remake. We can't. This doesn't work. This isn't working. Molecule's founder left last year. Sounds like things were getting pretty stale. We assume the talent at Bluepoint is the same from 4 to 6 years ago. The best talent may have taken jobs elsewhere. Typically, Gandalf, I don't think it's wrong to speculate that. We don't have any evidence to speculate that. When people do that at a company like Bluepoint, it hits the headlines. If they have mass exodus and people changing, there are gaming news outlets and snoops out here that are constantly monitoring LinkedIn and people's portfolios and stuff. We would have known if people were leaving Bluepoint. It would have been obvious. The reason we know as much as we do is because of the way that people just constantly pay attention to LinkedIn and Twitter and everything else. I don't know if there's any paraphrasing in this, but you could check to see the Sony exec. We promote the use of AI, especially in game production. Yeah, I'm not really sure what Sony's outlook is on AI with remakes. If that's their goal here and they see that Bluepoint doesn't hold value anymore, that would be about as stupid as saying we can use AI to do PC ports and getting rid of Nixus. That's equally as stupid. If they're like, yeah, we don't really need Bluepoint anymore. We can use AI for remakes. I tell you what, then, if we're just making dumb decisions, then why don't you just get rid of Nixus while you're at it and say we're just going to use AI to make PC ports? I mean, if you're going stupid, go full. Just go all the way stupid and just be like, let's get rid of another insanely valuable studio and we'll just use AI. I mean, if you're going to go full. Become so stupid that like it seems like a genius. You know what I mean? Takeshi says, I don't know. I'm sorry, Lono. Doc's getting annoying. What's Doc doing to you? Look, man. Doc's just being Doc. Doc's just being Doc. You can't be bothered by it. I'll tell you the reason that Doc Dark has never bothered me. There's no malice in it. Do you know what I'm saying? There are people that I'm like privately talking with right now and kind of mending some things, and it's because there's no malice in them. I feel like I can assess the malice in a man, and it's like, yeah, there's no malice in you. This is just all fun and jokes, right? There are certainly people I'm not doing that with because there's malice in their heart and their intentions, okay? But there are people where there's no malice in them. Like, Doc's just having fun. He's you can't take it serious. You just can't. You got to get that. You got to get some kind of a radar for this, and decide: is this content creator? Is this YouTube video? How do I change my name back to True SSJ Havoc? Yeah, every time I see your avatar, I'm like, oh, that's True SSJ, and then I'm like, wait, no, it's Takeshi. You got to go in the settings or somewhere. Doc is keeping it 100. Doc ain't keeping it 100. He's keeping it goofy. And I love him, but he's keeping it goofy. Come on, dude. He ain't keeping anything 100. He's keeping it goofy. He said the other day in his video, he's like, this is just facts. And I'm like, you just said 8 things that aren't facts, Doc. Come on. That's not like a... You know when you go get something notarized, you know what I mean? You go to the bank man, you got to get him to, like, notarize the paper. You can't, like, retroactively notarize a bunch of unfactual things by being like, that's the facts. That's not how that works. You know how Han Solo says, that's not how the Force works in Star Wars? Yeah, that's not how facts work, okay? Doc's just keeping it goofy. There's no malice in it. He's just having a good time. You can't take it that serious. Adam jumping back in with a member plus and gets us to 408. Thank you so much. Doc Dark. Yeah, Doc's just fooling around. That's why I like him. When someone can do that and there's no malice, there's no ill intent, I can laugh and move on with my day. Thank you for 22 months, Adam. My membership's been reactivated with malice. Ooh, I love it. Thank you. Doc's holding the line. Listen, if you know, because I had my whole thing with the holding the line thing in the past. The more I've looked back on that, the more I think that, you know, I got really, really quarrelsome and really reactionary back then, and it just wasn't helpful. I genuinely mean this. Like, I think a lot of folks are just having a good time, and I got way too defensive, and I got prickly because, you know, I got a history in this environment with being targeted, and I can really puff my chest out, right? I'm 5'6". You know, Napoleon comes out every once in a while. Sorry, it's just the nature of us short kings. We just do it, okay? The thing is, though, is like looking back, I'm like, I think I got super defensive and maybe prickly with the wrong people. I think there were people that just were having a good time. They're just being goofy. They're just being silly. There's no malice in it. There's no malice in Doc. He's just goofing around. You guys have got to learn the difference. There are people in this environment, there are homies in this environment that are just goofing around and having a laugh. Whether it's Gaz or anybody else. I genuinely mean it. I think I misfired on a lot of people. And, you know, if I can mend a lot of that and just be like, let's just all get along. I don't have to agree with you. I think what you're saying is kind of silly. I think what you're saying is kind of out of pocket, but we don't need to be mean. We don't need to make it personal. So, of all the people to be bothered by, Doc Dark ain't anybody you need to be bothered by. Doc, was you too kind? Those same people call you a rage baiter? Doc would never call me a rage baiter. He's a friend of the show. He comes in here all the time. What are you talking about? If Doc was the person some of you think he was, you'd never mingle with Lono. You know that. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Doc's a friend. I think you guys have got to see, man. Don't commit friendly fire. Don't commit friendly fire. There are people out here that we can be friendly with that are on the opposite end of a discussion or an idea, and that's totally fine. Strength in numbers. A twofold cord is not easily broken. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? Oh, you didn't mean Doc. I was going to say, ain't no way. Ain't no way. What about Forbes writers? We don't talk about bloggers who lack journalistic integrity, brother. There ain't no reason to talk about that. Some of y'all think wrestling is real, too. Some of you are still really angry at The Rock. And you don't need to be. Dark a bum? How's he a bum, man? Working man providing for his kids. Ain't no man a bum who does that. You shut your frickin' mouth. You don't talk like that about a man. That's ridiculous. Islanders with 4 months. Should EA buy Ubisoft? Thoughts? Ugh. No. Please no. Thank you for 4 months, though. I would love it for Ubisoft's property and studios to be, like, divested or whatever it is? Like, split them up. Get them out from underneath Guillermo the idiot and get them underneath some good leadership. Not EA. I don't know. EA's getting back into good graces with their EA originals, and Hazelight seems to think very fondly of EA, so I think there is a path there for some things to come from EA. I don't think EA is like the devil that we thought they were, but I certainly wouldn't want Ubisoft to just jump from one executive structure that I don't think is great to another one that still doesn't seem to have proven itself yet. I would like to see, the valuable pieces of Ubisoft retained, but not under Guillermo and that's the frickin' family. Like, what the heck are we doing? You got to get these people out of here. I don't know if it's possible. Narwaffle with the gifted. I think they're going to ego choke that company to the ground because they won't let go of it. EA just got bought by Saudis. Ugh. I don't think EA is deciding on buying anyone anymore. Yeah, I don't think we want anybody under EA then. Hazelight's got another game in production. Hazelight's done great things underneath EA, I don't think it's all bad. But I would much rather see Ubisoft stuff kind of divested and split up. You think that's what happens when companies struggle? They go back to the hits? Seems like a smart playbook. I mean, in general, we see that in all forms of entertainment, Ginger, yes. It's a safe bet. They're trying to make money. Like, the art is a means to an end. I think that gets lost a lot in these conversations. People forget that the art is a means to an end. We benefit from very, very, not all the time, but a lot of the times we benefit and get great games because, like, really greedy folks spend lots of money. That's the long and short of it, boys. Really, really greedy folks are like, let's make some money. And then studios are like, we need lots of money to make this incredible art. It's a symbiotic relationship, and you don't always have to like what you're attached to, but you know what I mean? Buckkeep comes in with the Prime resub. Really enjoy your content. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Getting us to 411. Appreciate it. I was just going to say, didn't EA get bought? Yeah. Breaking, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake and Assassin's Creed Invictus are scheduled to release later this year, but Assassin's Creed Hexe is now scheduled for 2027. I'm not worried so much about Hexe. I am very interested in Remake. Wait, isn't Invictus like a multiplayer? What's Invictus? I forget. I feel like the job of the head of Sony first party is to shepherd their studios and not to put them out to pasture. The mismanagement's astounding. Herman Hulse must go. I'm here to tell you, Square Pusher, Herman Hulse is not in any danger. I know people want it because we get passionate and we get angry, but he's not in any danger. PlayStation is very, and Sony is very pleased with where things are. And if he's at the helm, sometimes this is the cost of business. And I know that's cold, but that's what these people think, and that's how they sit and move. Executives and shareholders don't think the way that we do. I think it's short-sighted. I think it's a short gain that will have long-term effects. It's very short-sighted. I think Bluepoint could have posted consistent dunkers for PlayStation. Now, did they not want to? It's very possible that they didn't want to. That's not beyond the scope of possibility here. There's a couple of guys I respect on Twitter that were like, why are we blaming Herman and PlayStation only? What about the studio? Maybe they made mistakes. Maybe they didn't know what they were doing. Maybe it was mismanaged. Somebody thought the God of War live service game was a good idea, and we have it on very good authority that Sony does not mandate games to their studios. Sony said, we've got all this money for live service games, and a bunch of people went to Sony and pitched games. So it stands to reason Bluepoint pitched the God of War live service game. Now, we can sit here and point fingers all day long, but Bluepoint is not innocent in this equation. Somebody somewhere made a mistake, and they wasted 2 or 3 years of valuable time. Somebody somewhere thought 70 to 100 people could launch and support a live service game. You talk about dumb. That's dumb, y'all. You couldn't do a simple survey and look at the studios that back and support live service games and go, Destiny's been going for 10 years. They have almost 1,000 employees. Maybe we shouldn't take one of our most valuable pieces of property and try and build and ship a live service with 100 people. Like, Who thought that was a good idea? That does come down on the leadership. That 100% comes down on leadership. You couldn't do a simple survey of the successful live service games and say, this is not going to be a studio that's big enough to do this? Unless it was something very scalable and co-op or something, but that doesn't translate into a live service game either. We went from hearing we were going to get a Horizon co-op game to getting whatever the heck Hunter's Gathering is. That's not a co-op Horizon game. It looks like a mobile game. Who was asking for a Horizon, an Assassin's Creed multiplayer game? Everybody's taking a stab. Like I said this, before we got a look at Horizon Hunter's Gathering, okay, before we got a look at it, I said that one of the better ways to launch live service right now is to use existing IP. Hear me out. I'm not contradicting myself because I've been talking about how they've been mistreating their IP. So hear me out. When you use existing IP, I'm talking pure strategy here. I'm not talking about anybody who's successfully done it. When you use an existing IP, you already have an audience that's going to be interested at some level. Interest levels could range from 0 to 10, but there's an automatic interest level immediately in the product. That is extremely advantageous when launching a live service game. You don't have to convince anybody to look. You have to convince them to keep coming back. Right? So, like, I think strategically it makes sense. I think strategically you have to pick targets that make sense, dadgummit. Like, God of War doesn't seem like a good target for a live service. Why? Look at the property. It's a very narrative-driven, very cinematic, very sanctimonious game, you know. Boy, I come from a land of Sparta. And you're like, oh my gosh. And the music's like, duh, duh, duh. And you're like, oh, this is so intense. That doesn't translate into live service. Like, what the frick are you going to do with that? It's like there's this cinematic weight. You're like, yeah, let's like get it to a live service. Now, Horizon, I think, made sense because when you looked at the open world and the villages and the tribes, and you're like, I think this could work. You could do like low-level MMO. You could do like low-level Monster Hunter style game. You know, there's definitely some stuff here. So you can't just say, take IP, make live service. It has to be like, well, will the IP fit? Will the IP even translate into live service? Certain things don't translate. You can't like shape them into something that they're not. Do you know what I'm saying? That'd be like saying, well, a baseball bat's really good at hitting balls. I'm going to use it in a tennis match. You're a freaking idiot. It's not going to translate into the skills and the context of a tennis match. It's a baseball bat. You know what I mean? On paper, if you were like an alien and you were like measuring the efficacy of a baseball bat, you'd be like, a baseball bat's incredibly effective at hitting a ball. Look at what it's able to do. At high velocity, high speed, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, yeah, you can play tennis with a baseball bat. No, it wouldn't translate. It would go the other direction too. You can't play baseball with a tennis racket. You can't take every IP and just go, yeah, just make it into just make a live service game with it. We're seeing this with the art rejection of Horizon Hunter's Gathering. It's a baseball bat on a tennis court. It doesn't work. It's like, huh? Why does it look like that? This is Horizon we're talking about. One of the most artistically distinct pieces of PlayStation property, and they made it look like that? It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Taking the visceral, violent, and just bombast of God of War combat and putting it into a Metroidvania and not having it look and feel like a Blasphemous or even that new Castlevania game, having it look like Sons of Sparta, like nobody pumped the brakes and said, this doesn't really communicate God of War. I finally saw a clip of somebody who like finessed a boss. It looked so bad. It didn't look good at all. not everything translates into the medium. Unfortunately, I think God of War could have translated very well into a 2D action game, a 2D action Metroidvania, and they just didn't do a very good job with it because they handed the project to a studio with zero pedigree in Metroidvanias. Okay? But I don't think God of War on paper ever made sense. When what was the reaction everybody had when we heard God of War live service game? Everybody went, "Huh?" Nobody went, "Oh." Like when we heard that there was a Horizon MMO coming, nobody was confused by that. Nobody was like, "Oh, I can't believe they're doing that." It was like, "Oh no, yeah, I could see that." When we heard about like a co-op multiplayer Horizon game that was going to be like adjacent to Monster Hunter, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, I could totally see that." Nobody was confused or like bewildered, or great word here from Dark Taco. Nobody was flabbergasted like, "Huh?" But when we heard God of War live service game, there was like a collective communal gaming furrowed brow like, the frick? Nobody could picture it because, listen, if nobody could picture it, it probably didn't have a shot of the studio either. Huh? What are you going to do? A God of War MMO? Or like a God of War what? It doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't translate. It just wouldn't. It's baseball bat on a tennis court, boys. So, ultimately, I think my take on this is the same as it was yesterday. I'm frustrated. I'm irritated. I'm constipated. No, I'm just kidding. I genuinely feel like this is a massive missed opportunity. Now, if Bluepoint dug their heels in and said, "We don't want to do remakes anymore," and PlayStation said, "Listen, the path forward for you is to every 2 or 3 years crank out a good remake of an IP that we think could really add great cadence to, the library and our state of plays and our showcases and stuff." And if Bluepoint said no, parting of ways. It happens. It's a bummer. But I think this is short-sighted. And ultimately, I think the short-sightedness of it will be seen long-term, because you're like with the timing of like the God of War remake trilogy and everything Santa Monica's working on, I really, really hope they nail all of it. They better nail all of it. You know what this does? I'll tell you what this does. The expectations for that God of War trilogy remake, I think, are higher now. Oh, you didn't need their help? Okay. It better be amazing. It better be 9 out of 10 experience. It better not have any rough edges. I'll be very critical if it does. I'll be like, what's the problem here? You got rid of a 70-person studio that could have helped with this. They could have come in, did quality assurance, did version control, checked for bugs, checked for problems, checked for rough edges. The God of War trilogy remake better be immaculate, because you got rid of a studio that could have helped. And then the cadence and the timing for your God of War Egypt or Cory Barlog's game, we're sitting around and we're waiting for those games to come out. You know what I'm going to say? Could have been here sooner. You could have pulled in Bluepoint. Those remakes, they could have shouldered some of that bandwidth, but instead, got rid of them. Give it the sweet baby. TJ, listen to me. And listen to me. Shut the frick up. Like, TJ, let me ask you something. How you going to leave like 6 comments on one short? How you going to do that? Like, what are you doing with your day? You know what I'm saying? Like, I like you. You got like your own style. You got your own way of doing things. But homie, you left like 4 to 6 comments on the same short. What, you coming back for another round? You're like, I got to see that again. Like, do you love me, or are you just like wanting to fight? This man, I'm not kidding you. I was like, how many comments is he going to leave on this short? What are you doing, bro? I was caffeinated in traffic, my man. This guy's just being honest. He's like, I was just caffeinated in traffic, dude. I just kept coming back for more. Oh my gosh. Every time I opened up my app, I was like, what's this motherfucker saying? What are you doing? Every time I saw it was you. I was like, didn't he already comment? And I was like, oh, it's a new one. Okay, all right. Because YouTube does mess up sometimes. Like, somebody will leave a comment, and I'll, like, reply to it or whatever, and then I'll refresh, and it'll sit there for a minute, and it'll act as if I haven't replied to it. Because once I reply to it, it disappears. Like, YouTube just removes it, so that way I'm consistently, replying to new comments. And this dude just kept leaving comments. I'm like, what is going on? Give me freaking deja vu. Give me freaking deja vu. Oh, it's okay. An NMO will help your constipation. Thank you so much. D's Nuts says, man, what a crazy generation. Last gen, everyone was saying PlayStation only does single-player movie games. This gen, they're trying to make multiplayer games, and it pisses everyone off. I actually think we've gotten a very good balance. I think we have way more single-player games than multiplayer. I think the multiplayer hits have I think it's going to encourage the live service. I mean, they've made a ton of money on Gran Turismo, MLB The Show, and Helldivers 2. Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls is coming this year. I feel like it's probably going to make them a lot of cash. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be like, oh no, Concord. Like, everyone's like, $400 million on Concord. And it's like, they didn't spend $400 million. Y'all can keep saying that. It ain't going to make it true. You know what I mean? You can keep saying, I could sit here all day and tell you that I'm tall. It ain't going to make it true, y'all. Like, sorry. Like, I've been trying to tell people for a long, long time, this whole they spent $400 million thing. Like, they didn't. But we're just going to run around and say it all day long. It's tiring. But I think their misses, and this is just their mind. I'm not saying this is the consumer. I think PlayStation's mind on it is the misses are so far outweighed by the hits. You know what I'm saying? They're placing, ultimately that's what they're doing at that level. They're placing bets, okay? When you're shifting money around and you're moving around investments in your budget and everything, you're placing bets. And I think in the grand scheme of things, that's probably PlayStation's conclusion. It's like, oh man, the hits far outweigh the losses. We're going to keep doing this. I think they're putting processes in place to ensure that those losses aren't as big. I think that's why Horizon Hunters Gathering is in front of the public, because I think they want to know, how's this going to do? Should we start trimming the budget for the marketing now? Does that make sense? Like, I think they're already considering, like if Horizon Hunters Gathering starts to get, like, less marketing, it'll be because the reception's not strong enough. And they're like, yeah, we're already going to want to cut some losses on that project. Like, if their projections for, like, sales, interest, and positivity are a lot lower than they want it to be, that game could get, I don't know. I feel like it could still get canceled. Yeah, PlayStation 5 was the best-selling hardware in January 2026. That's what's being reported right now based on the sales numbers. So the people that, like, want Herman Hulse gone, I hate to break it to you. The people in charge, the higher-ups, all those folks up there, Hideaki Nishino and Hiroki Totoki and what's her name? Lin Tao, the CFO, they are absolutely fine with how things are right now. They're not like, oh no, you had to shut down Bluepoint. Herman Hulse is doing a bad job. Until they lose money, they'll never get fired. That's right. He could shut down 2 more studios, and if they keep posting profit and they keep posting gains and that share value keeps going up, he's about as safe gets. And that's not a very comforting thought, but it's true. Truth isn't always super comforting, you know? It can be upsetting and annoying. I still think it's a mistake. Yeah, I will be on the podcast with Ginger today. That's roughly 2 hours from now. So let's keep the conversation going. There's other things about PlayStation worth talking about. Curious, of the 3 games, Saros, Phantom Blade Zero, and Wolverine, what is your most anticipated game out of those 3 this year? For me, it's Saros. I actually am looking forward to Saros. I need to see more of Wolverine. I'm actually excited for Wolverine, but in a different way. It's weird. Like, when I think about, like, the Spider-Man games and Wolverine, like, my overall feeling toward them is excitement and enjoyment, but not, like, I don't hit the level of, like, interest and infatuation that I do with, like, a Saros. I'm like, oh my gosh, Saros, or Control Resonance. And Phantom Blade Zero, ooh, it's looking good. I mean, man, oh man, is it looking good. Oh, it's, if they can nail that combat, I think it's going to be a very enjoyable game. Anyone else think Lin Tao is a baddie? I mean, it's fine if you do. I'm not going to say no. That's your call, not my call. I'm not interested in Wolverine at all. There's a lot of unknown with Wolverine. I'll be cautious with that one. Oh, you're not going to buy day one, Eugene? Yeah, to me, I'm not cautious when it comes to Wolverine. I just am not, like, enthused. Like, I'm not enthused. I'm just like, I need to see more. Like, Spider-Man 2, I was interested, and then I think I rose from, like, interested to enthused when I saw that 20 minutes of gameplay. That kind of changed things for me. It was like, oh, this looks amazing. Traversal, combat, all of it looks great. Saros 100%. Housemarque can do no wrong. Careful now. Don't you put that juju on him. People be saying that all gen. So-and-so can do no wrong. And then they do. And a 5 bomb comes in from Charles Freeman. He's getting us a little bit closer. 500 is within reach. You guys keep waiting until Thursday and Friday, and Alex answers with 10 over there on Twitch to get the 425 milestone. He was waiting. That is sneaky. Oh, that's sneaky. He sniped that one. As soon as Freeman got you guys within reach, Alex snipes the gifted. I owe one to Twitch. He says, we're going to seal this or what? Nicely done, Alex. There's the one that I owe Twitch. We're now at 426. We're 74 away. We'll do a news reaction tomorrow with Madam. If you guys haven't been here for those streams, Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, it is a riot. My wife reacts to gaming news from the week. We had her and myself play Highguard last week. This week we'll play Reanimal. If we want to do a stretch on Saturday, I'll try to come up with something else because you guys went crazy on Saturday last week and you made me play Highguard. I'll try to think of something if you guys want to bring that pain again. There's some folks who show up on Saturday and go a little crazy, and we appreciate it. Don't act like she can't make a mistake. Oh, don't act like they can't make a mistake and then we get a stinker. That's what I'm saying, Dirge. Don't put that juju on them, dude. By the way, if you guys are watching on YouTube and you haven't hit that like button yet, take a real quick second and do that. Like if you're on mobile, you got to minimize the chat. It's super helpful to me when we hit like milestones. So before we get to 2 hours on the broadcast, let's try to get to 300 likes. That's a great goal to hit. I have a video coming later today about Highguard. I looked into the situation with the 10-cent funding, and I put together what I feel like is a very, very helpful video. It's both informative and critical, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I think we're going to try to push that live after the podcast with Ginger. I think that's what we're going to try to do. Yo, Dead718 with 38 months. Boom, 427. So be on the lookout for that. And I'll give a teeny little plug at the end. Ginger's like, hey, where can they find you? Blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, hey, they can find me at Reforge Gaming. We're going to have an upload about Highguard today after Ginger's show, okay? So after Ginger's show, head back on over to my channel and give that video a watch. We should have that one ready. I put some time into it. And instead of just running it immediately, we wanted it to land strong. So we've been taking our time with some of those projects. Yesterday, I put out a video about the God of War leak. Thank you so much for everybody who jumped on that one. That one got so much support from you guys. Thank you. And then the short about Bluepoint also did very well. Thank you for that. If it's scheduled, I can do the podcast raid. We can schedule it as a premiere, and then you can redirect, Ginger, if we scheduled as a premiere. I hope we could do that, because that's always helpful, and I appreciate that support. Anytime you redirect to a premiere. Why Uno with a prime over there on purple? Let's add it to the total. 428. Thank you, sir. But yeah, also, anytime you guys watch a video, not a live stream, you can't do this to a live stream. Anytime you watch one of my videos on mobile, use that hype. That is super helpful. You guys have been doing that, and that's just awesome. We are definitely doing both, and that is tough to do. We do live streams and we do uploads, and y'all have been amazing lately on those videos. It really means a lot. Don't think it doesn't help. It does. And when you watch every video, like every video, leave a comment, and you hype, boy, oh boy, that's awesome. And you guys have been showing up big, so thank you for that. Live streams as well. I really appreciate y'all and the support you've been showing lately, because this has been a nice, really, really nice start to 2026, man. And what a year. We got so many great games coming out. I think as frustrated as I've been today and as critical as I've been of PlayStation, I think we still have a really, really good year ahead. I know these layoffs and these studio closures always put a damper on the year and on the mood, but, let's keep perspective. There are still amazing games coming. 1 week from today, homies, we're going to be playing some Resident Evil, and it is going to be, based on everything I've seen, ooh, they cooked. I can't wait. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you have a good time with all the games coming out. Petrov says Wolverine, Phantom Blade Zero, Sorrow. So in order, so almost a reverse order of me, Petrov. We're talking about PlayStation Studios or PlayStation exclusives, that are coming to the console this year. Like, what are you looking forward to the most? A VIP from Benevolent Icon and bumps the line to 429. Games for your radar. Death Howl, a challenging narrative-driven deck-building game with Souls-like elements. I feel like I've seen that one. I also saw that Slay the Spire 2 is going into early access, and it's going to have co-op? Yeah, we looked at Death Howl before, if you guys remember this one. This one came out end of the year last year. It's got a 93%. Yeah. Very unique art style. And this one is deck-building turn-based, surreal tactical Souls-like. So if this one strikes your fancy, give this one a perusal over there on Steam. And let's see what the price is down here. Let's keep scrolling. Oh, my word. Here we go. There is a demo. Try before buy if you want. $16 right now. Not bad at all. Thanks for putting that on our radar. Appreciate you. Yelgler says, I just saw a story stating that Roblox is being played more than Steam PlayStation combined. I don't get the game at all. Maybe I'm too old. Do your kids play Roblox? No, I don't let them play Roblox because Roblox is a piece of garbage that doesn't protect children. They can frick all the way off. I'll never support that game. That game will never be installed on any of my hardware. So, yeah. But, unfortunately, it is super popular. And their posture towards protecting children is a joke. It's like a month of Crimson Desert. I know we're still on the fence about it, but I'm still hoping they can nail it. I think the cracks in the veneer of that game are starting to show. I watched a Jor Raptor video, and I watched Maximilian Dude talk about it. We'll see. There are people coming out to play it. They're going to send out review copies. I have heard that they're only sending out PC review codes. I can't corroborate that or confirm that. We'll have to wait and see if that's true. But that's what I have heard, that they're only sending out PC codes. And I'll be quite honest with you, it's very easy to believe given everything we've seen up to now. So, very easy to believe. So, not sure if the platforms have an issue over there on YouTube. If you guys are having a refresh or something, that is weird. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Try to get us to 300. Something seems like maybe YouTube had a bit of a blip there. That was not me. We're having a very, very solid day on my end. So if you guys had to refresh, I apologize. I'll do this for everybody coming back in. I'd say it's but, says Wheezy. Buyers beware. Y'all console boys can't get a refund. Joe Raptor said he gets to show his gameplay first week of March. Yeah. Jor had good things to say. It seems like you're pre-approved for Echoes of the End Enhanced Edition from Deep Silver. I mean, that already came out. I've heard people that really liked Echoes of the End once they did that enhanced version and fixed some things, but I just couldn't get into the game when it first came out. It just felt terrible. Yeah, it seems like there's some consensus on the controls and the combat and some other things just not being in a great place. Jor also seemed to indicate that like there was a boss fight that just didn't seem to be tuned properly. He thought maybe he missed something. Maybe there was some ability that, he maybe there was an ability that he missed or didn't understand. You know what I mean? I don't ever catch Lono selling me that two sports mixed together doesn't make sense. Don't look at Discord, Lono. I don't look at Discord when you guys get on one like that. It's just distracting and off topic. I'm not touching that game until 3 days after launch. I want to make sure it's running good before I buy. Yeah, I think that's all completely and totally fair. That's all I've been advising people. That's all I've been doing with Crimson Desert. I've been advising caution. I have been just saying, especially if you're on PC, please hold off on pre-orders. Please hold off. You can be so informed as a consumer within the first 12 hours that a game is out. Context. I understand. I understand. The fact that you think you need to explain it to me, Sven, is remarkable. I know what that is. I know what you were doing, and it had nothing to do with the conversation. I was like mid-rant, mid-making some point, and you want me to acknowledge that joke. You've been acknowledged, sir. Didn't he say that was from Gamescom? Yeah, I don't know. Would you have a look at the Wind Rise demo? That's the pirate game, isn't it? I think I saw Asmund reacting to some stuff about it. I think that's what I saw. It looked like, a game. Like I'm on games like that because I have to play it on my PC. I never really want to go and dabble. I don't want to get the bug and then I can't play it in my living room. That Steam machine could be a huge win for someone who, like myself, that's how I want a game. That's how I want a game. I want a game in my living room. I do not have a desire to come into this office and sit in this chair and play, long hours of games. I just don't want to do that. Did you try Eternal Life of Goldman? So Eternal Life of Goldman is on my PlayStation wish list right now. Like, as soon as I saw a trailer for it, I wish listed it that day. Like, we saw the trailer like a year and a half ago or something, and I was like, this looks so good. I'm hearing really good things about the demo. Unfortunately, the demo's only on Steam. I wish it were easier to put demos on console, because it does seem like demos on console consistently don't happen, which is a bummer. That's a huge value point for you PC boys. I think that's a huge win. You guys get to try out games in early access. You get to try demos way more often than the console boys do. Yeah, I know Steam has a demo. I know. Yes, Resident Evil 9. Unfortunately, the entire game has leaked. Unfortunately, and I would just advise don't look. Just steer clear of it. And even the Resident Evil Twitter account tweeted about it. So it's unfortunate, but. Guys, double check that it saved your like. The like count kind of stalled there. Try to get us to 300. We're really, really close to the 2-hour mark. And Mr. Rissick is going to round us out to 430. He's tempting a 20 bomb. Listen, y'all. Listen to me. Listen. Listen to me very closely. You cannot let Rissick do all of this today. Don't let this man. It's not on Rissick. Somebody help this man out. He's baiting a 20 bomb. It's a 450. I'll owe a member at 450. Red Rider says, good thing I don't pay attention to leaks. Yeah, just steer clear of them. Steer clear of them because they're out there, boys. They're out there. How can an entire game leak? I have no idea. I don't know. Somebody got it ahead of time. Somebody broke street date somewhere. Some guy had it and was playing it and streaming it. And then after that, I don't know what happened. I stopped looking and I stopped paying attention to it because I don't want to see anything, you know. A member plus renewal for Mr. GT5 King. Thank you so much for jumping back in, guys. Check those renewals and check your primes. If you hit the $sign on YouTube, you might have a renewal to celebrate. Poor boy comes in with the prime over there on purple. See, just like that. It all adds up, man. Use those primes. If you're paying for Amazon Prime, use your prime on the purple channel. It adds to the total every time you do it. It was a massive street date break. That's just so annoying. Has anyone else tried the 1348 X Votto demo on Steam? I did yesterday. It was meh. And a 5-bomb comes in from Charles Freeman. Wait, that's the Joan of Arc game, isn't it? What's it called? It's like, what's it called again? 1348. 1348 X Votto demo Steam. Sometimes you can actually search for the demo itself. Yeah, there it is. And you can go to the demo. It doesn't have any. The demo doesn't have any user scores. Oh, it's not letting me go to the demo page. Let me try and do it in the actual app. 1348 X Votto demo. Yeah, the demo has no user reviews. Sometimes you can go to the demo and it's like a separate store page. And you can see what people are thinking. And Broken Earth comes in with a single and gets us to 438. I think the X Votto game looks fine. I don't think it's going to be seismic or tectonic, but it looks like a game that I would enjoy. Broken Earth with another one. Look, get ready. Broken Earth's going to bump this to 440. He's trying to bait a 10 bomb, all right? I know what he's doing. So it's up for the taking. YouTube, there's a stream delay, so Twitch can jump in front of you on this one. You got to remember that. They don't have nearly as much stream delay. Here it comes. All right, here comes Broken Earth single. There it is, 440. Thank you, Chrono, for raiding the channel. Guys, I'm gonna be hanging out with Chrono and Ginger in about 2 hours on the weekly Roundtable podcast over there on Ginger's channel. We will redirect. The Witch Lesbian game? Yes, that game. All I care about is story and gameplay. Those kind of things is like, yeah, that's fine. I don't care if that's in the game. Is the gameplay good? That's all that matters to me. You know what I'm saying? If that's the game you want to make, go for it. I saw a guy say it. He was like, they didn't grab some other franchise and change characters or anything. He's like, it's a brand new game. If this is the game they wanted to make, so be it. He's like, I'll play it and see if it's any good. I think that's the right attitude to have. You know? And a 10 bomb comes in from Charles Freeman and gets the 450. Not so fast, Twitch, says Mr. Charles. And Loch Ness comes in with a 10 bomb. It's a double whammy, an unintentional one, but it adds to the total. And I owe YouTube a member. Thank you so much, Loch Ness and Mr. Charles Freeman. You guys have all but locked in Saturday. 40 more. I'm all paid up on both platforms. Thank you, boys. And if you guys are just getting here, press that like button. Thank you so much for everybody who has. We're 10 likes away from the next milestone. I'm just checking the news feeds to see if anything's going on. I will say this. Did you guys see my video about the God of War leak and a VIP for Mr. Eugene renewing and saying 10 years ago they'd be drooling over a lesbian witch game? This is true. This is true. If you guys haven't watched it yet, huge leak right there. I did an A/B test, and that thumbnail was so much stronger, YouTube just switched it to that thumbnail in the A/B test. It didn't even ask me. I thought that was a pretty cool feature. Be sure to check out that video on the channel. It talks about like what Christopher Judge said, but what is not in that video is all the speculation that we're now seeing. So let's talk about this. Let me show you guys something here. I got a little something for you. I got a little something for you. All right. It is, let's see here. Hang on 1 second. All right, let me pull this up. I got a little something for you to brighten your day. All right. I think you guys will be excited when you see this. All right. I got cupcakes for you. No, I'm just kidding. That's not it. It's this tweet here. Okami says, rumors about the next Sony Santa Monica game from credible sources. Cory Barlog is directing. It is not a new IP, but it will feel like one. Yeah. You excited yet? All right, maybe let's just keep reading anyway. Not sci-fi, not a licensed IP, not an Atreus-focused title. Reveal will be this summer with the release in 2027. What are your guesses? I think it's somebody from the God of War franchise. I think it could be Freya. I'm not doing the whole, anti-woke thing, but we know PlayStation is a lot of the studios are suddenly like, hey, let's make the lead a girl. We know this happens. Freya's got a sword. Freya's kind of wild. I think she could be very, very different combat system, but also very, very fun. I could see it being a Freya game. Thor's daughter? Maybe. I would rather play as Freya, personally. Now, people were thinking maybe Faye. Yo, GT5 King double dipping 16 months over there on purple. That's a lot of support. Double dipper gang, my man. Freya or Thor? It's going to be a new Order 1886 game. It's a Santa Monica game. Not a new IP, but it'll feel like one. Not sci-fi. I mean, I don't know. Angerboda, stop it. It's going to be an Angerboda game. You're going to ride around on the yak and you're going to plant flowers. It's a farming game, farming sim. Oh, that sounds terrible. Anyways, I'm thinking, I don't know where are you getting Order 1886? Are you just taking a wild stab guess, Sven, or did you hear something? Did you hear some rumblings? I don't know why you'd be guessing that one. I don't know why. Kratos with a bazooka. Yeah, Mikey Bot's putting the Order 1886. Why are you guys guessing the Order 1886? What's making you guess that? Swordman 8, Swordwoman. Oh, shoot. I didn't think about that. That's very possible. It's time. The Order was the best PS4 tech demo ever. I'm making a guess because it got Sony Santa Monica's history. It's not a new IP, but a new game will probably feel like one since Barlog is doing it. You use the tip feature. Perfect Image used the tip command, guys. Thanks so much for doing that. That is very, very kind of you. Let's see what he says here. $2, and he says, Day 1, Blood Message, 007, and GTA 6. I appreciate the tip so much, and those are his games. If you guys ever want to bypass bits and tips and all of that, super chats and all that, you can always use the tip command, and you can tip me directly. It's greatly appreciated when you do that. Thank you very much. Perfect Image. The Order was amazing. Yeah, that's one I never played. That's one I never played. I think it is interesting, though, that they said it's not an Atreus-focused game. Like, are they saying that because it is a God of War game? Also, on the topic of the God of War leak from Mr. Christopher Judge, he seemed to indicate on Twitter that the late summer announcement thing that he's involved with isn't Santa Monica. He was like, not everything he does, not every project he's involved in is Santa Monica. So it seems like the thing that he told that girl, like, oh yeah, we're going to have a late announcement this summer, he could have been talking about like himself and his team, and it's not a Santa Monica title. I have no idea what this leak means. It could mean anything. It's just fun to speculate. It's just fun to speculate, you know? I saw that Okami tweet, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. Showcase in the summer? I don't think so. PlayStation historically does a state of play at the very end of May or the very beginning of June. They kind of kick off Summer Game Fest. I believe they will do that again this year. I believe there'll be a heavy focus on Wolverine. I also think this is where Barlog's game gets announced. Yeah. I actually think going forward, I think PlayStation's events are going to be, they're going to be pretty good. I think the state of play that they just did is kind of a beginning of like, yeah, we intend to put that pedal down. I think that's just a guess that I have. They've got a lot of property now that they can really start pulling out. Like, they can go big in end of May, early June, and not even touch Intergalactic. They can just save that for the Game Awards. Did you see this? What is this? You know what I'm not going to do? I tell you what I'm not going to do on the subject of Bluepoint shutting down. I'm not going to read Herman Holst's empty words. I just don't care. When a studio gets closed down, like the last thing I want to do is read some corpo speak bunch of crap that doesn't matter. He could have typed an email that said, sorry, y'all, they weren't going to make us enough money. They got to go. Or he writes something like that. And he's like, they're so talented and who cares? It doesn't matter. They're still closed at the end of the day. I don't want to read a bunch of empty corpo speak. I've done enough of that in my career of making content about the video game industry. I've read enough CEOs BS about the changing times in the industry, and this is a really, really difficult and regrettable. Just shut the frick up. Like, I don't care. They're so great and talented that we fired them all. Yeah, I've hit my quota. I've hit my quota of reading CEOs, PR speak their way through a shutdown or a layoff. Okay, fine. That doesn't change anything. The systems and world of 1886 were great. The game itself was terrible. I thought the issue with the Order 1886, historically speaking, was that it was good and it was just stupidly short. I didn't think people were like, it was so bad, blocked, and reported. Like, I don't think that was the case. I think it was like, yeah, it was like 5 minutes. It was like a tech demo. Like Rise Son of Rome. Nobody ever complained that like Rise Son of Rome was bad. It's like a 20-minute game. It's like, what was that? It's over? Like, it was just short. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing wrong with short. But, wasn't long enough. A lot of you guys know what that's like. But, sometimes games come out like that and they're just tech demos. It's approximately 5 hours. Yeah, if you're less than the 8 to 10 mark, that's pretty dadgum short. The Order has a 63 on meta. It was terrible. I'm not defending the game, homie. I've never played it. What I'm saying is my memory was that people were like, it was good. It was just insanely short. Like, it wasn't that people were like, yeah, it was low quality crap. They were like, it was just this tech demo. It lasted no time at all. That was my memory of the criticisms. I never played it. I wasn't even a PlayStation guy back then. I was on Xbox. According to David Falke, Bluepoint wasn't hitting milestones on a remake after the God of War live service fiasco. 18 months of fumbling. Hang on a second. I told you guys that might have been the issue. Let's see what Falke's saying. He's a mutual. What day is it? Okay. Where is he saying this? Is he saying this in the replies or is he speculating this in the replies? Let's see here. It was a 5 to 8 hour game. Falke says, so studio management gets off scot-free. It's not like they had any warning or expectations communicated in advance. They dumped the live service game 18 months back, their new IP shelved 12 months back, unable to come up with anything viable since is on the studio. That's what he's saying. I basically put 2 and 2 together and said, after we heard that Naughty Dog was doing forced overtime for 7 weeks to get a demo ready for PlayStation, and then they stopped doing the forced overtime once they did that, I said, What if last year PlayStation was like, everybody right now, show us what you got. It's make or break time. We're facing financial hardship. We're facing financial struggles. And we need you to bring your stuff to the table. And whatever they brought to the table wasn't good enough. Right? That's what it seems like to me. Media Molecule and Bend. This is a good meme. This is a good meme. Let me open this image in a new tab. Keep absolutely still. Its vision is based on movement. Bend and Media Molecule are just... Keep your head down. Keep your head down, boys. Keep your head down. It starts off slow with on-rail walking, looking at an item. Once you get weapons, it flows good, and then it just ends. Yeah, I am by no means saying that The Order 1886 was a good game. I've never played it. I was saying that my memory was people were like, what the heck was that? It was, it felt like a 5-minute game. I don't know about financial hardships. They sounded good in the quarterly report. Seems more like they're doing quality assessments on live service projects. Well, they didn't shift Bluepoint from live service to live service, homie. They canceled their live service game beginning of last year. They needed to shift to something new. Whatever they brought to the table end of the year wasn't good enough, and so now they're closed down. To me, I think live service is the consideration, and that's what they should have thought about. They should have said, well, we had you spinning your tires for 2 to 3 years on a God of War live service game. That should be taken into consideration. That 100% should be taken into consideration. I've talked about this multiple times today. If you go through the timeline, I think people need to remember what Bluepoint did. They had a launch title for the PS5. 2 years later, they helped ship God of War Ragnarok. So you can't be like, they didn't do anything for 6 years. That's not true. After God of War Ragnarok from 2022, end of 2022 to 2025, right? They spent roughly 2.5 years to 3 years on God of War live service that was then canceled. If that's not weighed in the equation, that's why I think shutting them down is short-sighted. I think shutting a studio of that size and quality and I think they've got density. 70 to 100 people, and they can crank out something like Demon's Souls Remake, and you can them because what? I only brought that up because he says in one of them, quote, where possible, we will work to find opportunities for some impacted employees within our global network of studios. Right. I wouldn't be surprised, Wolf Saints, when he says that. I appreciate you drawing that to my attention. I just wasn't interested in reading his email, and I think you could understand why. But I would imagine him saying that, they're probably looking at the higher ups. When you've got like team leads and managers, and folks that are valuable at the executive level, you're going to want to try to find them a place. I think it's a little bit harder for people in like the art department to find their footing. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's more challenging because there's so many. Like when you go into a particular department, you've got so many people, so it's easy for those people to be overlooked and not find a place. I hope they find a place as well. Like I said, if I worked there, one of the first things I would be doing is I would be making a phone call to Santa Monica. That's what I would be doing. I've been making a phone call to Santa Monica and saying, hey, you got room for me over there? We helped with God of War Ragnarok. We've already got some cohesion. We've already got some familiarity with your property. You got room over there? That's what I would do. That doesn't mean they're all going to land over there, but that's probably your best course of action if you're one of the people getting laid off, is to try. I'd reach out to Santa Monica first. I mean, there's plenty of other studios they could land at. PlayStation's got a lot of studios, but I think it's fair also for people to look at Bend and say, is Bend is Bend in jeopardy at this point? We have no idea what they're working on. They posted something a while back that looked like they got a new contract to work on something. So the hope would be that when they cancel the live service game, they shifted everybody to whatever that thing is. I don't think it's a Days Gone sequel, though. Sven says, if it's anything like my company, they'll be given a window of time before their severance date kicks in to search internal job postings and land on a new team. I mean, that would be the hope. They're able to spend the next 2 weeks or so, because they're closing them down in March, spend the next 2 weeks or so trying to find a place to land within PlayStation, because 70 to 100 people across all of PlayStation Studios, you would hope about half of these people could land somewhere. I mean, for goodness sakes, SIE absorbed like 200 to 300 people from Bungie when they were laying people off at Bungie. And then they spun off the LFG studio. So it's like, come on. Didn't Bend appear at the State of Play? No. Jaffe's saying call Phil. I don't agree with Jaffe. The last place I would want them to land is Microsoft. Yo, Sal gifts a member and bumps the line by 1. We've had a couple people here trying to fish for 10 bombs. We will see if they're able to do it. We will see. He's probably going to bump this line, or somebody's going to bump this line a couple more times. There it is. I could sense it. I could feel it. YouTube, it's your time to shine. He's going to bump it one more time. There is stream delay. Purple's got a bit of an advantage here. Ben wasted 5 years on a live service game. They are one of Sony's oldest studios, but if Sony's cutting studios, Ben is most likely on the chopping block. And another one from Sal. Puts us 10 away from 475. The only thing in Ben's corner is that I think they got approved to work on a new project, and I don't think that happened for Bluepoint. I don't think Bluepoint got approval for a new project. I think they were probably trying to figure that out, and then they didn't. Get Jaffe on to talk. I think we're going to do... I'm going to reach out to him and see what day is best for him. I want to do a show with Jaffe specifically about... I think we want to zoom out and make it more than about the God of War Sons of Sparta game. I think that'll be our catalyst, because he and I are in large agreement about that game. I would like to do a bigger show with him about... because now we've got this Bluepoint situation. I would like to talk with him about how PlayStation is treating their IPs and how stupid it looks to announce a God of War, trilogy remake the week that you get rid of your amazing remake studio. So I'd like to have Jaffe on to talk about more. I think God of War Sons of Sparta is a great kickoff to that show, because he and I can commiserate about how bad that game is. So ask Jaffe if they're doing something with Twisted Metal 2. It's his baby. That's one thing that frustrates me, is everyone's super dismissive of the old titles, but it's like the Twisted Metal show is doing really, really well. Why couldn't you have had Bluepoint do a Twisted Metal remake? They canceled the Twisted Metal live service game. Okay, that's fine. But there was nothing there that could be recouped. You couldn't hand a Twisted Metal remake to Bluepoint? Your first not safe for word episode. I've had plenty of those. Yo, it's good, Mayhem. Maybe Santa Monica wanted to work on the remake similar to T-Lou Part 1 and Naughty Dog taking over. Maybe. I don't know. The timeline... to me, if you just look at the cold hard facts of the timeline, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see a studio make an amazing remake after doing the Shadow of the Colossus remake that's been praised. They do the Demon's Souls remake. They get purchased. They help God of War Ragnarok ship. So they give you a launch title. They give you basically your second phase of launch titles 2 years in. They help Ragnarok, one of the bigger and more successful titles this gen for them. They help that one come to market. And then they waste time on a God of War live service game, and now they're gone. Now, if they couldn't figure it out and they couldn't come up with a concept or they couldn't hit a deadline, okay. They're a small studio. Were those expectations reasonable? Were the deadlines reasonable and fair? I don't know. It's a mechanics change between the games. I would rather it be completely redone. Yeah, the more I thought about it, the more I thought about the God of War remake, the trilogy remake, the more I thought, I actually don't think I want the 2018 over the shoulder, because I don't think it would work. I think when Christopher Judge said they're putting a new fighting system in, I think that's exactly what he means. I think it's a new fighting system. Like a new fighting system. Like, I watched this section here yesterday. I feel like Kratos has too much agility. I think he has too much agility, and there's too much enemy density to do like the God of War 2018 Ragnarok thing. Let me get into some combat here. Like, you're going to have to do some hybrid between the two. It needs to feel like a game from today, because this is an 11-year-old remaster that we're watching here. But I don't think this works with the 2018 sort of lumbering. He kind of moves, you know how like the guys, he doesn't move like the guys in Gears of War, but you know how there's like a stiffness? You're almost like a linebacker. Not a linebacker, I'm sorry. You're like an offensive lineman, you know? You got like this stiffness in your turning radius and stuff. You're sort of like a freight train. Coal train, baby! Like, there's something about that in 2018 that I like, but I don't know if that translates to this level of agility and enemy density. Like, if you try to bring this into the modern era, I don't think you necessarily do that with Ragnarok in 2018 style. 2018 combat just doesn't fit that vibe. Weezy says, holy crap, Lono, thank you. I've been saying that for so long. Once I watched this gameplay, I really changed my tune. I was like, you're going to need some kind of a hybrid between the two. It needs to be something that honors this. Okay. I am being told that the situation with Bend is still developing in this regard. That typically, when like people are like laid off, they're like immediately done. They're out of the system. That's not what's happening. These people are still, they're still online. They're still enabled. Like they're still, so like something's going on. Maybe they are trying to find them places within the infrastructure. 2018 is experienced Kratos. The old ones, he's more raw and ruthless. This game was just more dense and younger and more fluid Kratos. Like, this Kratos is a fighter jet. The current Kratos is more of a howitzer. Did I say blue? Oh, I said Bend. I'm sorry. I meant to say Bluepoint. Yeah, I meant to say Bluepoint. I forgot you didn't experience these games in real time. No, I have been told that this remaster has aged very well because it is 11 years old at this point. But it's very much combo focused. It's very much button mashy focused, which I think is fine. But I think they're going to need to take this and take like God of War 2018, and kind of pull them together in a bit of a hybrid. So I kind of changed my position. Like the more I watched the footage and the more I read comments from people, the more I was like, yeah, I don't think you could just take that style and just like turn it into like, oh yeah, here's God of War 2018 style, and it's, you know, the God of War 1 through 3. Like I said, I think there's just too much going on. Too much speed, too much agility, too much enemy density for that to work. The remaster aged well. I played it again a few years ago, says Wheezy. Ragnarok had blades, gameplay back. The remake combat I'm expecting will be closer to Ninja Gaiden to handle movement and powers. Fighter jet Kratos versus tank Kratos. Yeah, we need something in between. Because here's the reason it kind of needs to be in between. It needs to feel like a game from today to a certain degree. There is something about like that fixed camera, super spammy gameplay from that era of time that I think excuse me, that I think is a little dated. Like, I'm not being critical, I'm just saying you want it to kind of feel like something from today, and I don't know if that would feel like a game from today if you've got like this fixed camera and you're just like, you know, slashing your way through hordes of enemies. That is a very like old style feel to it. It isn't hard to refine. I would say, since Christopher Judge said new fighting system, It's gonna be new. It's gonna be a revamp, or it's gonna be remade, to a degree. Okay. Apparently, this wasn't super public, but there were Firewalk employees that were also transitioned internally. So, the hope would be that a lot of these Bluepoint folks can land somewhere and, Think Batman Arkham? I don't think so. Batman Arkham is a bit of a melee parry ping pong ball style. And I think Kratos is a little bit more visceral, but also grounded. Mighty Keith disagrees, kind of. Keith's video is pretty funny. Other than the blades, what's everyone's favorite weapon in the original trilogy? So BPM Boom wants to know, what was your favorite weapon in God of War in the original trilogy? More like Wolverine? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I have my own concerns about Wolverine gameplay. I've consistently said my concern with Wolverine gameplay is that I worry that it's going to get old quickly. Are we gonna turn around and be like, man, I'm 10 hours in and I'm kind of just doing punchy punch slashy slash over and over again? Like Spider-Man and Batman, you can add gadgets, right? You can add abilities. They're gonna have to do something like that with Wolverine. I think it's gonna be tough. I think it's gonna be tough to do with him. I'm not quite sure how they're gonna do it. If you have enemies where maybe his claws are ineffective, does he have to grab something, use something, do something, to add some variety? I think more like Devil May Cry 5 refined the combat. It's possible. It's why Devil May Cry 5 is so highly regarded, but I get your point for the record. Yeah, I could see like the Devil May Cry combo juggle focus. I could see that. They could add guns. I don't know if I want guns. Yeah, glory kills and all that, sure. But there needs to be, I think, a hierarchy of enemy that requires something more from Wolverine than just slash more, hit more. Does that make sense? So, like, as an example, in the Arkham games, you had the guys with the shield. So Batman would have to, do the thing with his cape and then slide underneath and hit him in the back, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I saw that, Dr. Red. I'm not going to pull that into the show. That just is a little too, dicey of a topic. But I think you need a hierarchy of enemy. There were the guys with the shields in Batman, and then there were the brutes, right? Where you would have to do the punch them a bunch, and stun them, flash them, with the cape, jump over top of them and land behind, that kind of a thing. So I could see that helping with Wolverine, creating a hierarchy of enemy, and then have him equipped with abilities to then engage with that hierarchy, whether it's somebody who's shielded or wearing some kind of adamantium armor. I don't know what you would give him to combat that. But if the God of War remake trilogy doesn't keep the exact same combat from the original trilogy, just updated with modern graphics and console and camera movement, then I don't want it and it will fail. I think you were doing just fine until you got to the very end, Christopher Burnett, saying it will fail. You need to remember something. Both God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok have been incredibly successful. And that's an awful lot of people that are not going to have the conviction that you have. They're not going to feel as strongly as you do about it. So if it's somehow a go-between, as Christopher Judge said, it's a new fighting system. If it's some kind of a hybrid go-between the originals and the new ones, I don't think it'll fail at all. Like, I think that purity test that you're kind of putting out there, that's totally fine from your perspective. But I don't think, like, somebody like myself who didn't play these games, right? And I'm not going to have that level of opinion. I'm just not. Like, I'm actually going to be like, you know what? I'm okay if it feels a little bit more modern. Weezy says, I'll be saddened if they remove all vestiges of the previous combat. I think two things are unlikely. The first thing that I think is unlikely is what Weezy just said. I don't think they're going to remove all vestiges of the previous combat. The second thing I don't think they're going to do that's unlikely, I don't think they're just going to copy-paste the way it feels in Ragnarok in 2018. The Blades felt good in this. I think the Blades felt great in 2018 and Ragnarok. But there's something more cinematic and slow about them, which I think is within the identity of God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. I think there's just something faster and more visceral in the older games. You're going to have to... I think you're going to have to somehow find a way to honor that. There are people saying, what if they do both and they let us switch between the two? Probably not. Like, I find that to be really unlikely. Because the time and energy it would take for every fight, every environment, allowing you to switch between both styles, I think would be bonkers. I don't think that's conceivable. They wouldn't do both. That's just insane development requirement. Like, that's just foolish. Them doing both, the concern I would have is that neither would be very good. You'd end up with two mediocre systems that don't feel good and don't feel like they're honoring, you know, either side of the legacy. Does that make sense? So I think it's going to be something more in the middle. It's going to stay true to what it looked and felt like, you know, back then. But it's probably also going to feel closer to how things feel now. That'd be my guess. I think Insomniac will lean on Samurai Blade work for Wolverine. They'll lean into it. Oh, my chat freaking crashed. Hang on. YouTube does this thing where it, for whatever reason, they fixed it and it wasn't happening for a while. The chat like causes like a memory crash or something in Chrome. All right, guys, in an hour and 45 minutes, let me actually use the timer. We use the timer sometimes. And today's date is the 20th. And 1 o'clock, set, start, show timer. State of play is not correct. Round table with Ginger Prime. There we go. Hour and 15 from now, I'm going to be doing the round table with Ginger Prime. That's how much time you guys have to secure the goal for Saturday with Madam. I need to start a YouTube channel so I can speak freely and people don't misinterpret everything I say. Who misinterpreted what you said? I felt like you spoke very plainly. I don't mean it will fail financially. Okay? When you say it will fail, you right now, this is a fun discussion, by the way. I think this is a worthy discussion. It's a hot topic. Okay? In what capacity do you think it will fail? Ashy Kratos versus Lotion Kratos. Stop it. Jaffe is incredibly bitter. I don't think he's bitter. People live to misinterpret what you say. You think people understand anything Lono says? Yeah. Sitting like this and having a microphone and speaking at length for the last 2.5 hours, yeah. People will still misinterpret you, bro. I will literally say something like, this game could fail in a similar way that Concord failed. And people be like, this game is nothing like Concord. It's not first person. And I'd be like, all right. TJ Boom Boom says, you think that's air you're breathing? Yeah. Good luck, brother. Oh, my goodness. How else would you define fail? Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how I was supposed to take that. I mean, feel free, feel free to outline it. Any insight on when Sony made this insane move? I think the long and short of it is this, Aaron. They are looking for ways to cut costs because their costs are about to go up, both this year and the years following. There's issues with RAM, hardware, hard drives. There's issues with tariffs. Darth Nihilus doesn't just become a member today. They gift 5 members and get us to 470. That is a lot of support today, Darth Nihilus. Thank you so much, man. You're a dadgum champion. But the long and the short of it is that I think they looked at the rising costs that they're about to incur in certain capacities, and they're trying to lower costs in any way that they can. And whatever Bluepoint was bringing to the table, they didn't project enough gain on it to justify keeping them open, as they haven't shipped anything revenue driving for 6 years. I contend that that's unfair and short-sighted. Okay? I think that's what they came to a very, very rigid business conclusion and decision here. Costs are going up. We got to limit costs and lower costs where we can. You guys haven't brought anything revenue generating to the table for 6 years. The thing that you've been trying to do or pitching or working on isn't going to work. Whether or not they couldn't come up with a pitch or whatever they came up with wasn't going to come to fruition fast enough to start generating revenue, they said, you got to go. I think it's a short-sighted mistake, because I think the amount of money that it would take to keep a company like them open, I don't think is big enough to justify the choice. And I think you could have justified their existence, and they could have dropped bangers, just dunkers, every 3 years at a very, very low production cost. I don't think it was that expensive to keep them open. Comparatively, winged wheel with a 5-bomb, bit of a 5-bomb train, and there it is, 475. I owe YouTube a member. We're officially 25 members away from the milestone. Appreciate you guys so much. I can't even think of a stretch goal for tomorrow, because if you guys unlock Saturday, which it looks like you're going to, it's fun when you guys come in and go crazy on a Saturday. I'll try to think of something. Last week, you guys made me play High Guard, and it was hysterical. I don't want to go back to that well again. I think the fun factor and the humor will be gone this week. Hang on. Joey Swole, his wife, rushed to the hospital. Did some tests, decided to keep her overnight. Finally able to be with her. Very scared. Lying there in pain, unable to breathe. Very scared. She saw Fitz obviously worked out. And while working on her, she brags with him. Joey Swole, that's my mom for you. Oh, it's his mom, not his wife. Sorry. Love and prayers at my mom today that her procedure goes well. Yeah, man. Thoughts and prayers there. That's freaking scary. Joey Swole's mom, some kind of a heart issue. Stretch goal is Mugenics. Oh, yeah, that's a good one, Kingslayer. That's a good one. That could be really, really funny. That could be more entertaining watching Madam and I play Mugenics than Reanimal. We could do both. We could do a doubleheader. Lono's on the quest to save High Guard. I'm the man for the job. No, I'm just kidding. There's no freaking... listen, y'all. Man, I'm not being a hater. There ain't no saving that game, y'all. They're on borrowed time. They're on borrowed time that was already borrowed, okay? And a 5 bomb comes in from Siege Master. We are officially a 20 bomb away from the 500 mark. We did it. We did it. If someone drops that 20 bomb, if somebody does it to cap this off, we'll be set up. We will be in a prime position for tomorrow. And if you guys go stretch goal tomorrow, Matt and I will play Mugenics either instead of Reanimal or in addition to it. We'll see. A High Guard cosplay. How am I going to cosplay High Guard? Are there any white guys in the game? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. There are. I think there's a whopping one. I think one made it. I am not one of those guys that complains about that crap. It's so stupid. A $2 super chat from Forget Me Not. Oh, you got the hair already? That's right. Wheezy says, really, dog? You're so cooked. See you later. You can cosplay the horse. Yeah, that's right. Legend says, too late. Get him. Oh, Lord. Oh, yeah, get Richard in there. Oh, Sven says there's 2 white guys. All right, okay. Oh, that's funny. There's two. Okay. Okay. Let me check on that, Ginger. I don't know when you sent this DM. Oh, about 10 minutes ago. All right, let me check and see. Let's see. I don't know if it'll be ready on time. It's probably not super long. I think it's like an 8 or a 10 minute video. So we'll see. He's probably working on it right now. That'd be my guess. I don't know anyone who's played the original trilogy that wants the combat drastically changed in the remakes. I wouldn't buy it if the combat was that fast. If it isn't the fast-paced hack and slash combo driven. I'm going to F around and get myself canceled by association. I don't think that's possible. Wheeze. You know what I'm saying? I He says, shut the F up. He's so mad. He said birch. What am I, a tree? He said birch. Birch. I'm a tree, y'all. I'm a birch. I don't know anyone who's played. Okay, so back to what you were saying. Christopher Burnett. It's not just about the people that have played the originals, though. Like, you know what I mean? You ducking birch. That's right. You trying to say black people can't be canceled? No. I am not saying that. Listen, y'all. Listen. It's February. You got immunity for at least 8 days, unless it's a leap year. Gee, freaking Christmas. I think we can't even continue the conversation. Wheezy says, I think the combat should be updated for sure. And he's like, see? He's like, see? Listen to this mother effer. Come on. It's in the book. It's in a book somewhere. You take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow. You know what I'm saying? That's a rule somewhere. You're safe. You're safe near me. For now. Anyways. No, but for real. But for canceled. Yeah, for real. I don't think it's necessarily just about the people who played it back then. It has to feel like a game from today. You can get a piece of paper. A couple. Your hair looks amazing today, bud. Well, I styled it last night. Nailed it. It looks awesome. They will not unsubscribe, buddy. Okay. If they unsubscribe their poo-poo heads, okay, I'll let them know. My birthday is March 1st. I'm mentioning it because I know nobody will remember by then. Did you do this before, Kevin? Yo, Alex comes in with a 10 bomb on purple to set us up. We're 10 away. And it gets shoved out of the chat. Weezy says, it has to feel modern. Just don't completely remove the aesthetic, especially keeping TC Carson at least. Tells me it's intentional. Come on, boys. He says 25 to go. 25 to go? Are you that far behind on Twitch? Alex, what's going on? And Wired Rope drops a 5 bomb. We are right on the doorstep. Yeah, I think using TC Carson indicates a care for the franchise and how it feels. So I don't think they're going to move away from the combo, the speed, the agility, the enemy density. I don't think they're going to move away from that at all. I don't. But it's got to feel like a game from today. It does. You know? Holy moly, my work laptop's so far behind. Gift on mobile, watch computer. And Ala Park lands the plane for YouTube. There it is. Ring-a-ding-ding. All right, so... Wait, why didn't it do the thing? Huh? Oh, this is supposed to be this. There we go. So we've hit it. You've unlocked Saturday with Madam. Stretch goal is now you're going to make us play Mugenics in addition to playing Reanimal. You're going to get a double header. So react to gaming news, play some Reanimal, and then Mugenics. What do you mean by that of today? What I mean is go watch God of War 3 Yellow Paint. No, not yellow paint. I'm talking about yellow cake. Do you know what a man can do with some aluminum tubes? No, not yellow paint. We're talking about, like, you go watch, like, the gameplay of God of War Remastered, God of War 3 Remastered. Go play it. You can, there is something intangible, but it's there. It's dated. It feels, from that era of time. So you need to be, like, honoring the spirit of what you're doing, but it needs to feel like a game from today. Does that make sense? Do you understand? Like, okay, take the Prince of Persia Metroidvania and compare that to, like, a Metroidvania from 15 years ago. You're doing similar things. You're jumping. You're doing double jumps, dashes, things like this. But Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown feels like a modern Metroidvania. It feels like a game from today. There's a fluidity. There's a responsiveness. There's a care about camera placement and things like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Back then, you watch the God of War 3 Remastered. There's a rigidity to where the camera's positioned. There's a looseness to the movement. A floatiness to some of it. It doesn't feel necessarily weighty and grounded enough. It's very slashy, very punching a pillow. And the guys are just like, you know what I mean? Like, you take those things and you make them feel tighter, better, crisper. That's what games like today feel like. Does that make sense? Am I making better sense? I'm not saying remove the combos, remove what you do. No. It needs to feel like a game from today. I don't want to feel like I'm playing a game from 15 years ago. Games back then felt different. They just did. That's exactly what I said about the God of War remake, but yet I still got misunderstood. Homie. That's not what you said. You might have elaborated and said that. The initial thing you said if it doesn't keep the exact same combat from the original trilogy, you said just update it with modern graphics and controls and camera movement, I don't want it, it'll fail. You know what? Fair. I misread what you said. That's actually fair. I think I tripped up on graphics. I think because you led with modern graphics, like my mind didn't read controls and camera movement, and that's on me. So that's actually fair. you led with graphics, and I was like, it needs more than that. It needs to feel like a game from today. So we're in agreement, Christopher. Those sound effects are top notch. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to moonlight as a voice actor and a sound effects artist. And I've not got any offers yet, but, you know, I'm out there. I'm trying. I'm reading Harry Potter to the kids, and they really like the voices. Excuse me. That's just what I want. I want for it to feel new instead of just looking new. That's why I'm not really a fan of remasters of old games. Not a fan. I owe YouTube a member, by the way. I'm just not a fan. Because it's like it doesn't. It's like, oh, you took a really old game and you made the textures a little bit better. You bumped the resolution, so there's more pixels. Riveting. It's gonna feel like a game from 15 years ago. It's gonna feel like a game from a lifetime ago. I said I wanted the same combat, but with modern graphics and controls and camera movements. I don't want the remakes to play like the newest God of War games. The more I've thought about it, I think the more I agree with you. I don't want it to feel like 2018 and Ragnarok. I think it needs to be like somewhere in between. He was great at singing the intro on the last podcast. The good news is I tested it this week and got the new song ready to go. I'm having a hard time maintaining my excitement, Ginger. We got some very cool news to share on Monday. Ball enthusiasts, any guesses? More content for Ball Pit would be my guess. That would be my guess. Replace is officially coming to Steam Next Fest. Play that demo, y'all. Replace is a special game. Play that demo. Wishlist it. Right now, wishlist it. Play that demo. Being floaty is not an issue in the OG trilogy. God of War was not floaty, it was tight. Combo driven, yes. But when hits landed, it was visceral and even a slowdown when the blades tore through enemies. I'm just basing it off of what I watched from the trailer, Omar. It didn't look, I don't know, Reanimal stretch goal. No. Reanimal, you guys got, I made Reanimal just a part of the goal this week. Because it was such a slow start. I was like, all right, let me sweeten the deal a little bit. The stretch goal is Mugenics. You can have, Madam and I will play Mugenics. Like, playing games like that's actually fun because we can, like, argue over the decisions and the choices. I think her reaction to Mugenics might actually be funnier than Reanimal, but we'll do both. We'll do a double header for y'all. So if y'all go crazy tomorrow, well, and you still have 55 minutes to add to the total. If you guys can get to 750, we'll do a double header. It'll end up being a much longer stream, but when you guys go that crazy, I think that's fair. When you get a chance, Lono, this is what I mean by Devil May Cry 5, more modernized gameplay that heavily rewards being skilled while feeling fast, visceral, and more importantly, intentional. I have timestamped what I mean more by current modern Devil May Cry combat. All right, what do we got here? Yeah, this will work because a lot of the setups that I've seen from God of War 3 especially, it's a lot of like set arenas that you're fighting in. Right? Only issue I have with the camera work here is you would need the camera to be in a better position. I'm not saying it's in a bad position for this game. I'm saying for God of War, enemy density would require, and enemy aggression would require to be a little bit better, maybe more zoomed out and maybe more following so that you can just kind of keep a beat on where everybody is. But I think this is kind of on the money for what I've been watching in the gameplay that I've seen. You want it to have this speed, the versatility to move and make these quick choices and to keep the combo going. Yeah. Yes. By the way, I can't say this enough. If you guys enjoy 2D action rogues and you like, you like the stuff that BlazBlue does, if you've ever played like their fighting games or whatever, I think you need to check out BlazBlue Entropy Effect X. Like, this is me just ripping through a boss. Guys, you know what rips right now? Yeah, this chick. Just absolutely shredding. This game is so fun, so responsive, so enjoyable. I am loving it. It's a rogue, so you got to be okay with rerunning and meta progression and getting stronger and coming back in. But this is such a sweet game, dude. I'm loving it. Look at her go, dude. She got bopped there. That was unfortunate that I fell out of my barrage of bullets a little too soon, but woof, what an ender. That's just one. That's BlazBlue Entropy Effect X. And it is on Game Pass, boys. That's on Game Pass, boys. You got no excuse. Really, really fun game. Now show some Sons of Sparta gameplay. Yo, Dynamite Black is the first one to push us past 500. Boom, 501. Thank you for that 31-month renewal. Like, BlazBlue, I feel like I'm Bruce Lee with a jetpack on. I'm like, what? Up in the air, slamming down. And frickin' Sons of Sparta, I feel like a janitor that just decided to take up fighting. Like, all right, here I come. I'm going to just push broom you to the edge of the screen. The frick. That's what happens when the pedigree of the studio behind the project can make an amazing combat system. Like, that's one character. Like, every character I've played as. The only character I don't like is the big slow guy. I don't vibe with him. I just couldn't. I played fine with him. I just couldn't get into I just could not even get into a good flow state with him. He's big and slow, and he's got the big sword. It's like back like this in BlazBlue. I forget his name. I don't like him at all. I tried to make it work. I did. I was ripping bosses up with him too because I could keep my distance, and he has a cool block that he can do. But yeah, I don't like him. He's not fast enough. The gameplay seems to require a lot of fast. Like, you know what I mean? Those sound effects. Do you teach classes? I do. Yeah. Bruce Lee could make a push broom deadly. Well, he could. Which studio do you think is making the God of War trilogy's remake? Santa Monica's making it. What do you mean? That was the official announcement. Like, Santa Monica is making the God of War trilogy remake. That's who's making it. They got T.C. Carson to come back. That dude's voice is, my gosh. Now you know why they got Christopher Judge. You needed somebody with a better, not better, but like a more baritone voice. Like, if you were going to do anything, you had to go a little bit lower. You know? Good night. Both those gentlemen, just amazing voices. Just amazing. Do I recommend Mio Memories in Orbit? As a Metroidvania, it is not one of the best that I've played. It is better than Sons of Sparta, but it turns a little bit more into a punishing platformer and less of a Metroidvania. I also found a couple of sections and how they did checkpoints to be really frustrating and unnecessarily so. But generally speaking, I thought it was a solid 7.5. I would have been able to give it an 8 if they didn't have some of the missteps they did at the end. It doesn't have a great score on Steam because a lot of Metroidvania fans took issue with some of their design choices. It wasn't that it was bad, but it just wasn't particularly good either. Sons of Sparta is, to me, I can argue that it is a bad Metroidvania from a variety of angles. I can't really argue that Mio Memories in Orbit is a bad Metroidvania. It's just not particularly very good. And when you've played Ori 1 and 2, when you've played the first Hollow Knight, even though I put down Silksong feels fantastic as a Metroidvania. When you've played Sundered, when you've played Crypt Custodian, I'm not... a mediocre or bad Metroidvania is going to stand out. It's really going to stand out. I've played some of the best. Nine Souls, too. Nine Souls is fantastic. Nine Souls is a little bit more of like 2D action. It's a little bit more like Sekiro platformer than it is like Metroidvania. Shinobi Art of Vengeance is kind of a mid-between as well because you get abilities and you retread ground in Shinobi Art of Vengeance. But Shinobi Art of Vengeance is a fantastic platformer, fantastic 2D action game. One of the best I've played. I feel like I played the greats. I don't know. I don't know if you could list a Metroidvania or 2D action game that I haven't played that like outranks any of those. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Ori 1 and 2, Hollow Knight, Nine Souls, Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Crypt Custodian is isometric, but it's still a Metroidvania and it's got platforming in it. Like, I don't know if you can name one that outranks any of those. So I've played the greats, and I'm telling you, when you play a game that ain't up there, it's super obvious. It's very, very obvious when you're playing something that is not at the pedigree of any of those games. And Mio's not there, and Sons of Sparta's not there. Yeah, we're gonna be hanging out with Ginger on the round table at 1. You guys hit the goal. The stretch goal is now to make us play Mugenics. We will do the stream tomorrow with Madam. She'll react to gaming news. We will play Reanimal. And we'll do a doubleheader. We'll extend the stream, and we will play some Eugenics as well for you guys tomorrow, if you can hit stretch. Sometimes you guys wait and go crazy during the Saturday stream to hit the stretch, which is totally fine as well. Or we sometimes don't do it, and we still have a great time. We do not need to do all the extras. That is certainly the case. I didn't like Bloodstained. No. Bloodstained was too rigid. I don't like Axiom Verge 1 and 2 for that reason. They're too rigid and stiff. I don't like them. So, what are we talking about today? Oh, sneak peek here. Looks like he wants to talk about Destiny 3, Final Fantasy, Ashes of Creation. Yeah, I will not be able to be on his show next week because of Resident Evil 9. I was hearing you talk about Wolverine combat, and to be honest, I think it needs to feel like a fighting game to get the most out of his limited arsenal. Let me do crazy juggles and slicing and dashes. That's not a bad word, Smitherson. That would give it its own identity for sure. And if you can continue to add to his arsenal of combos, if it becomes about the combos and like fighting, that could be really good. I don't get down with 2D Souls games. So Blasphemous, Salt and Sanctuary, Salt and what's the Salt and Sacrifice? Yeah, we'll obviously talk about Bluepoint too, because that just happened. Yeah, I don't really get down with 2D Souls games, and Blasphemous and like Death's Gambit and games like that. Crypt Custodian is good. I put Crypt Custodian on the same level as Ori 1 and 2, Hollow Knight, and Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown. It's one of the best I've played. It's fantastic. It's so fun. Very different, not a 2D platformer. Very different, but a fabulous Metroidvania. Really, really good. If you get stuck and don't know where to go, it's like a classic Metroidvania. Zoom that map out. Look for any locations that you've not been able to move through. My one piece of advice, if you play Crypt Custodian, is when you can put an icon on a map. When you can put an icon on a map, use that when you get to a spot that you can't go across, and come up with your own code system. Like, use different icons for different things. Like, okay, this is a locked door. This is a jump that's too far. This is a platform that's invisible that I can't jump on yet. Things like that. That'll make it really, really helpful to you. There were a couple of times I had to pull out Google. I'm like, I have no idea where to go next. That was the only issue with Crypt Custodian, was as a Metroidvania, it got a little tiresome being like, well, I have new abilities now, and I need to go to every section of the map that has a door or like a place I haven't traversed yet. It was really hard to remember. I was like, I don't know where I can use this ability. Like, just being able to throw a boomerang to hit switches. Had a hard time remembering like where that was. So, that was probably my only critique. It was such, a high amount of retread anytime you got a new ability. By and large, that felt great because it's a Metroidvania. That's part of the journey, right? That's part of the journey is new ability. Got to go find where I can use it. So, yeah. Another really good Metroidvania is, I would say, skip Ender Lilies and just play Ender Magnolia. Fantastic game. Very fun, very responsive, great art style. Ender Lilies is the first game, and the dodge is terrible. You kind of flop on the ground, and it's very frustrating. Ender Magnolia listened to feedback and fixed that. They give you a genuine dash. There was like 3 rough edges in Ender Lilies that they fixed like 5 minutes, 10 minutes into Ender Magnolia. I'm like, oh, this is such a better game. They really did a good job listening to feedback. Personally, I think they should go back to Ender Lilies and change the dodge, and it would immediately fix the game and make it feel better. So, yeah, we're getting more information about aggressive-based matchmaking. I don't know if I'll do a follow-up video on that or not. I'm about to cancel my deluxe edition for Crimson Desert, says Christopher Burnett. My hype for this game has gone to a 0. So many other games coming out over the next couple of months I'd rather play. I think the paint is chipping. I think people are starting to see that there's something amiss with that game. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game. It just isn't going to be what everybody has in their mind. It's not going to be 11 out of 10. I don't even know, for some people that are super hyped, I don't even know if it's going to land as a 9. I think it's going to land lower than that for a lot of folks. I think the paint's starting to chip. I wouldn't be surprised if Crimson Desert scores like a 70 to a 76. I don't know about that. People think it's going to storm the review charts and be a Game of the Year nomination. I don't know. You get a dodge upgrade in Ender Lilies. Is it like super late in the game? I got a decent chunk through that game, and I just couldn't stand that dodge. It was infuriating. Like, and like throw yourself on the ground. I was like, huh? It just led to really, really awkward moments in the combat. I didn't feel like empowered to get away, from the attacks and stuff. And then Ender Magnolia, it was immediately noticeable. It's like, yep, this is so much better. It was immediate. And I don't think I think it was on purpose. They gave you the dodge really early in Ender Magnolia. I feel like it was within the first 10 minutes. I was like, yep, they must have listened to feedback, because that was my number one complaint. Black Myth scored a 76 and got a Game of the Year nomination. Uh-huh. There were reasons that happened that I don't think Crimson Desert's going to have the same. I don't think Crimson Desert's going to get the same treatment. You got Ender Lilies on a special on Steam. You never touched it. It's fine. It's just the real trick to a Metroidvania. It has to feel great immediately, but you're also establishing a lack of power so that you have a sense of, let's go get more stuff. I think that's the true art form to a Metroidvania is making the player feel dope in the first fights. You're quick, it's responsive, you can get into a flow state. And yet, you dangle the possibility of like, well, maybe you can't jump and then dodge in the air. You can dodge, but you can't dodge in the air. Maybe you can't double jump. Maybe your dodge is, very short. Maybe you're, I don't know, maybe you don't have a parry yet or things like that. You establish just enough vacancy and pain so that the user is motivated to rectify those vacancies and that small amount of pain. The mistake that some Metroidvanias make, and I believe Mio Memories in Orbit made this mistake. I believe Ender Lilies made this mistake, and I believe that, Sons of Sparta makes this mistake, is you don't feel good in the early stages of the game, like, at all. It just doesn't feel good. It feels clunky and awkward. You feel like you've been kind of like put in a straitjacket, and you spend the game taking the straitjacket off. I don't think that's an enjoyable trajectory for power. Like, you're meant to feel more powerful and awesome Yeah, Guacamelee 1 and 2. I always forget them when I list Metroidvanias, and I shouldn't do that. My wife and I really enjoyed Guacamelee 1 and 2. We really did. I think I finished 1 and 2 by myself, though. I think it got really, really difficult with 2 people. It was almost harder with 2 people. Kind of like Returnal is more challenging with 2 people. But when you get used to and accustomed to games like that, where you feel good from moment 1, the most basic attacks and damage mitigation in the early stages of a Metroid game, it should just be, there should just be no denying that I can continue and I'm not going to get my butt kicked. Like, I'm going to be able to kind of manage, again, movement, attacks, and damage mitigation. All of that needs to feel great while dangling the reality that you don't really have everything yet. You didn't roll credits on Silksong? No. Silksong and I have a philosophical disagreement. I don't think it's a bad game. I don't think it's too difficult. I think they did too much with punitive, runbacks. It's the difference between being punishing and difficulty. It's like one of the bosses that people said was too hard and needed nerfed. I beat that boss like my 7th try, maybe 7th or 8th try. I maybe got to double digits. Maybe it took me 10 tries. But the runbacks, to me, it's death by 1,000 cuts. I can't do it. It's punishing. It's a philosophical disagreement. I don't like it. I don't have fun when I get all the way to a boss or something and it's like, yep, you died. And instead of getting to retry this fight, this arena, this boss wave, or whatever it was that got me, you got to rerun through this area. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Silksong gives you an idea, pain all the way through. And fast and slow, the ant down. I'm done. I can't read that, brother. Black Myth scored an 82 on OpenCritic. It was still the lowest scored Game of the Year nomination that I've ever seen. First game didn't have that problem. The runbacks in the first Hollow Knight were not nearly as bad. This is the one that somebody just put in chat. Hack is very good. This game is a pixel graphics Metroidvania puzzle platformer, and it has a 93% overall, 86% recent, still very good. This one looks pretty good. Very, looks like it's pretty challenging. This one looks like that the platforming would be where a lot of the challenge comes from. Looks like a lot of timing on the platforming. So, Hack, Haak, is the name of this one. Is that on all platforms, or is that just a Steam one? It looks like not on PlayStation. The Hack developer addresses why they skipped Xbox. Thank you for the support, but the process of getting our game on Xbox was plagued by bugs in the Microsoft Partner Center, preventing us from... Yeah, when did they say this? They said this in 2024. We are deeply sorry that we have failed to meet the expectations of all Xbox players. Hack will not be coming to Xbox. Thank you. Thank you very much for your help and attention. However, during the process of getting our game on Xbox, we encountered numerous obstacles. What seemed like a simple procedure turned into a nightmare due to many bugs in the Microsoft Partner Center, preventing us from successfully completing account registration. Even Microsoft Support Service System had bugs, making it impossible to initiate inquiries about our issues. This is simply unbelievable for developers. We informed ID at Xbox about our predicament, but they were powerless to help, as apparently it falls outside their scope of responsibility and seems to be a Microsoft issue. There were other developers that complained about this, like just not being able to get responses from Xbox on this. In reality, porting the Xbox version of our game would have taken less than 2 weeks, but we spent over 14 months trying to apply the game publication and, quote, complete Microsoft Partner Identity registration. This experience has been terrible because we can feel the enthusiasm from the Xbox community players, yet we struggle to resolve the problems at hand. Although we very much want to share Hack's adventure story with more players, our development funds are extremely tight and we cannot afford to wait any longer. As a result, we've ultimately decided to abandon the Xbox platform release. Did they bring it to anywhere else? Steam, Epic, Nintendo Switch, Google Play, iOS. Yeah. So if you want to play this on console, looks like you can get it on the Nintendo Switch. Sadly, it doesn't look like they have any plans to bring it to PlayStation. I wonder if they encountered either similar problems there. Like, I don't feel like I've ever heard that complaint about PlayStation, but it could be. I don't know. A lot of great Metroidvanias are stuck on Steam. That's one of the reasons that I really, really want the Steam machine. I really, really, really want the Steam machine. Like, I would use it on a regular basis for games like that. Like, 100%. 100% would use that. Because they get those games a lot. And they're great games. I'd be playing Mugenics in my living room right now. Stuck on Steam? Stuck? How dare you? Anti-consumer, isn't it? It's anti-consumer, isn't it? Biomorph was good. A good Metroidvania. Not sure if you've ever mentioned that game. Biomorph is on my PlayStation wish list. That's a rainy day one. I downloaded... God, what's it called? It's a China Hero project. We just looked at it. It has decent reviews. I played it for maybe 20 minutes. It felt pretty good. Awaken Astral Blade. I don't know if that's a Metroidvania. I think that's more just like 2D action. But yeah, I got Awaken Astral Blade because it was on sale. So that one and then Biomorph are on my play eventually. Yeah. Plague Tale Requiem 83 and Control 84. I know Neo Reaper, maybe you're arguing that it wasn't the lowest. I'm telling you, it was one of the lowest scored Game of the Year nominations I've seen. Now, maybe in the past, you got to go back and compare, because Tsushima got a nom, and it wasn't a super high score either, but maybe back then was the score threshold lower or something. I felt like the year that Black Myth got the nom, it was so outclassed in overall score from the critics. It wasn't even close. How much for Steam Machine? We have no idea, Petrov. Beyond $1,000, and my interest drops pretty quick. I'm willing to spend anywhere from $800 to $1,000 on it because it solves a significant problem for me. If they drop that thing higher than that, I don't know. As a creator, I would get it. As a consumer, I wouldn't. You know? I'd be like, nah, it's too much. That's not. Yeah. Well, critics were wrong. Are you wrong for liking it, or are they wrong for not liking it? Like, how can, you know what I mean? Can't really argue that in taste and subjective, like, preferences. I'm thinking 700-ish when it should have been 550, says Zubair. Valve pushed it back because the price isn't great. Calling it now, says Lune's Dogs, 800. Yeah, I've seen this game too, Armistice. Yeah, they've got a demo. This game is a post-apocalyptic demon-infested version of Paris. It's a rogue, isn't it? It's going to come, release date is sometime this year for Xbox, PC, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch 2. It's going to be Game Pass day one. There's a demo. Is everybody getting the demo? Yeah, this is kind of like... This makes me think of like Returnal, Witchfire, and Remnant. Was it Remnant 2 that looked like this a little bit? That's what it kind of reminds me of. It's like all those games kind of came together. If you like long Metroidvanias, After Image and Eterna Noctis are a couple of top ones. After Image. I feel like I've seen that one. After Image. It's got a good score on PlayStation. It's $5 right now on PlayStation. Yeah, I feel like I've seen this. I feel like I've seen this one before, like the art style. Yeah. I'll wishlist that one. And what was the other one that you said? Eterna Noctis. That's another one that sounds familiar. After Image is great. Okay. And you're saying Eterna Noctis. PlayStation. Eterna Noctis. Is that co-op? I'm seeing two people. Eterna Noctis doesn't have a great score. Anytime it drops below 4 on PlayStation, I get a little worried. I'm like, that one doesn't look as promising as the other one. Cosign After Image. After Image looks like it's got a lot of co-signing from people. I tell you what, before we got about 30 minutes or so, and we're going to be going hang out with Ginger, but I need a quick break, and I don't want to make them wait whenever it's time to go. So I'm going to take my break right now. I'll be right back. Make sure you guys go crazy on the like button and check your renewals and your primes, okay? I'll be right back. The fact that the critics scored it so low and the gamers scored it so high makes zero sense. There's a clear disconnect between gamers and critics. Game of the Year should be decided by gamers. You can't let Game of the Year be decided by gamers, though, because then all that's going to win is, like, gacha games. Like, really popular, Chinese, Japanese gacha games. Like, those aren't the Game of the Year. What the frick? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Leviathan-like Chinese MMOs would win every year, or, Genshin would win every year, Wuthering Waves would win every year. Like, who the frick wants to have those games win every year if you just let the players decide? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get where you're coming from. There was a big disconnect with Lies of P as well, where, like, the critics scored it, and it got, like, perfectly fine scores, but then, like, the users raved about it. So, like, I'm generally accepting of that can happen, that there can be a chasm between where the critic circuit lands and where the users land. But the problem is when there are genuine flaws, problems, bugs, and a lack of care. I look at Black Myth and I'm just like, this is not the game that everybody. It's not what everybody claims it is. It isn't. It's not some triumph. It's not some work of art. It's not one of the best games ever made. It isn't. It is a serviceable, Unreal Souls adjacent game, and with a great art style and a great story. But beyond that, people were acting like it was like the next Elden Ring. I was like, come on, man. Come on. Like, that's... And there were significant issues with it. Performance issues, technical issues on console. No, there were tech issues on PC too. Like, people complained about performance on PC just as much. It just wasn't nearly as pervasive with the way frame gen was used. They did a better job bringing it to PC, but there were still issues on PC. There's no perfect science here. There's no perfect science. You're always going to have disagreement. You're always going to have people saying, I thought this game should have won, or I thought that game should have won. And I think that's what makes this such an enjoyable hobby, to have that level of passion and that level of debate, right? But you can't argue like critics got it wrong if there were, I think, genuine and fair criticisms and problems with the game at launch. You know, it didn't feel... I think what happened is, and this is... I don't know. This is what's irritating. Is you... And this happens with trolls too, okay? There's two sides of this coin. So Highguard is doing this, like, empathy, narrative armor shielding crap, where, like, they hide behind trolls. So what they get to do is they get to cast criticism, dislike, and rejection. It's all hate, and it's all unfair, and it's all unjust, okay? So they're hiding behind the trolls, right? I think people did the same thing with Black Myth, but in the reverse. They let one stupid, poorly written article by IGN, and they claimed that, like, the game's media was out to cancel and brigade against Black Myth. You know, the wokies were going to try to hurt it or whatever. And it was like, it was one dumb, poorly researched article on IGN. It wasn't all of the game's media or the game's press. And when you go and read the reviews and you go and read the criticisms, they're all very valid. They're all very, very valid. Fair, but if gamers are playing gacha games, then give it to them. So you have to determine, so in this discussion, you have to determine what you think the game of the year is. What I think game of the year is the game that, according to trusted authorities, people with lots of experience, outlets, YouTubers, and gamers, okay, all give it a similar amount of praise and adulation. Like, does the barometer line up? Like, did anybody really doubt or debate about, like, Elden Ring? Did anybody really doubt or debate, you know, whether or not Baldur's Gate 3 should win? Expedition 33 last year, okay? Everybody, like, it's like the barometers kind of line up. I think that is more of the measurement than what game's getting the most players. I mean, there were years where that would make Candy Crush win. Like, is that what we want to do? Is that what we want to do? Like, Candy Crush? Trusted authorities? For the most part, yeah. Law of large numbers. I think that a lot of these outlets are trusted authorities on the quality of games. They play them and can report back on how's the story, how are the gameplay mechanics, how's the combat, you know, how are the bugs, how are the glitches. The gaming press is not perfect. I would never indicate that they are perfect. But I would say that there is an established history where when you take all of them collectively together, yeah, I would say as a group, there's an authoritativeness there to what they're saying. It doesn't make them right. I'm not arguing fallacy of the expert or fallacy of the group. I'm not saying it makes them right. But I'm saying as a collective group, they're an authority and we can get a general barometer. Like, are you really like, as a user or a consumer, are you like scratching your noggin? You're like, I don't know if eugenics is any good because they're not an authority. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we would never do that. Like when Expedition 33 was getting praised and lauded, or Elden Ring, or Baldur's Gate 3, or even Astrobot. Nobody's like, I don't know. Can these people be trusted? Do they really know what a good video game is? No, when like the entirety of the gaming press is going nuts over a game. Breath of the Wild, right? Or God of War 2018. Do we really think that like something's like amiss? They're somehow all wrong. How many times would you say that the games that have been nominated for the Game of the Year have been absolutely out of step with what the public thinks? How many times do you think that's happened? Not the winner, the nominations. How many times? Erdtree, maybe we would say, like the public didn't really agree with that. The public was like, that's a DLC, that's not a game. Like, generally speaking, 5 or 6 games go up there for nom. Are they like, so how many times is there a game up there that's just grossly out of step with what the public thinks? Right? Baldur's Gate 3 was not universally loved. But it was pretty close. It had issues in the third act. But generally speaking, again, I'm talking about on average, over the years that Keighley's been doing it, take all of the nominations, take all the Game of the Year nominations. How many times has the games that are up there has there been 1 or 2 or more just massively out of step with what the public thinks? Like, I can't believe that game is up there. What, Deathloop? I think Deathloop is probably the only one that I can think of that was just like massively out of step with where the public landed on it. Like, why was it even up there? What the frick? That's the only one I can think of. The only one I didn't agree with was like the RE4 remake, says Madden Mills. Yeah, there were people that don't agree with remakes being up there. That is a time where people disagree, for sure. Rise of the Ronin should have got a nomination. I don't agree. It was perfectly fine. It was not a Game of the Year. I don't even think it scored that well. I don't even think it scored that well. It scored fine. Like, it didn't score like insane chart topper. It's got an, yeah. Homie, it's got an 82. Come on. It's got an 8.2. That's fine. That's passable. That's not Game of the Year. This guy's just not listening on Twitter. Like, you are not listening. The second round of $200 million was also procured outside of Sony. There is zero evidence or indication anywhere that Sony spent $200 million on Concord. It drives me absolutely crazy. When Colin Moriarty broke that story, okay, and I'm not upset with Colin at all. I thought what he did was perfectly fine. When Colin Moriarty broke the story about Concord and Firewalk and the $400 million, he never indicated that the money came from Sony. There was $200 million procured in investment funding prior to the acquisition. Post Sony acquisition, Firewalk went and got another $200 million in funding from outside of Sony. There is not a universe where Sony, in the amount of time that they own Firewalk, that they spent $200 million on Concord. It was 2 separate rounds of funding, and it didn't come from Sony. It drives me nuts that people think that, like, oh yeah, they spent $400 million. I saw somebody tweet the other day, it's now gone up. It's just going to go up for forever. Eventually, it'll be $1 billion. Some guy said they spent $600 million on Concord. So now it's up to $600 million. It's up from $400 to $600. Jiminy Christmas. The reason that story broke was it didn't make sense. Where did all the money go? Firewalk was getting funding from multiple projects, not just Concord. $400 million on one game? That's absurd. There's no way. They procured funding, like Jerry Jones was listed in the first round of $200 million, for Pete's sakes. I heard Concord completely bankrupt Sony, and they've been lying about their finances ever since. I'll raise it to 800. Yeah, they're approaching GTA 6 level budget now, right? It's like it's just insane. It was never officially reported anywhere that amount of money was spent on Concord. It all came from the Sacred Symbols when Colin said it. And all Colin said was there was a $200 million round of funding procured. Then there was a second round. And it's like there is not a universe where PlayStation acquires Firewalk and shovels out $200 million. It's I'm telling you, it's just like the RDNA video that I put up the other day. It's this false headcanon. Somebody hears something, and then that's the headcanon now. Everybody's running around thinking that PlayStation dropped $400 million on Concord. Remember, people are like, they got to make back the money somehow. Brr. It's like, if they spent $400 million on Concord, explain their quarterly earnings and their operational costs. Explain it. Where'd the money go? Where is it? That's the question you should ask anybody touting that number. Anybody making videos. I was responding to LD. Legendary Drops is the one that said it. That's a great thing to ask. Why is it nowhere in the finances then? If they dropped $400 million on Concord, that would have been represented in their operational costs and their profit. Are you kidding me? That would have been disastrous for them. They'd have gone to their shareholders and been like, "Oh my gosh!" Like it would have been disastrous if your operational costs mushroomed $400 million after acquiring them. It's like, Jiminy Christmas. What are these guys debating here? Oh, they're debating something entirely different. And I'm in the mentions. They're talking about something else. They bought it with way less. How much did they spend to acquire? How much did Sony spend acquiring Firewalk? I don't even remember. The exact purchase price has not been publicly disclosed. However, reports indicate that Sony invested over $200 million in initial publishing deal. That's not true at all. That's never been stated anywhere. That's never been reported anywhere. That AI is absolutely getting this wrong too. It's pulling from the same nonsense. There isn't a financial report anywhere that says that. There was one round of funding that landed around $218 million and a second round that put them at $215 million in total. PlayStation only invested $70 million, excluding studio purchase costs. That's what I'm saying. It's so frustrating. It's like there is not a financial report anywhere to back this up. And when Bluepoint gets shut down, we got to walk around and do this. PlayStation's in a disastrous state, and they don't know what they're doing, and they spent $400 million on Concord. And it's like, oh my gosh. Like, to be self-righteous and to be indignant about something and to be so utterly in error, it's just so frustrating. It's like, yes, I 100% agree that they should not have done this with Bluepoint. But that is not what happened here. This guy says, beside that, This is an 8-minute clip. Yeah, so Colin says, I spoke extensively with someone who worked on Concord, and it's so much worse than you think. It was internally referred to as the future of PlayStation, with Star Wars-like potential and a dev culture of toxic positivity halted any negative feedback, making it cost $400 million. This is the clip where he talks about, I don't know if it's this clip actually, it's 8 minutes, so I don't have time to listen to it. But I'm fairly certain that this is the clip where he indicates how the funding worked. I'm pretty sure this is it. It was in their Sacred Symbols podcast.
And I think people will be interested about it. The reason that I wanted to talk about it is because some of the assumptions that I had made about the game were dead wrong as far as how much it cost and how much Sony really lost on it. So the big thing that you really need to know here about this is that Concord cost about $400 million to make.
Oh my God.
And the story goes that Concord...
Okay, this might not be safe for work. I don't know if he cusses or not. So just fair warning y'all, if you need to turn your volume down, if kids are in the room, headphones, I keep things safe for work.
By the time Concord was... So in the first quarter of 2023, Concord had basically entered an alpha state. This was before Sony had even purchased the team. But Sony had been working with probably Monsters, which was the original owner of Firewalk and Firewalk.
You hear that?
And how much Sony really lost on it. So the big thing that you really need to know here about this is that Concord cost about $400 million to make.
Oh my God.
And the story goes that Concord, by the time Concord was... So in the first quarter of 2023, Concord had basically entered an alpha state. This was before Sony had even purchased the team. But Sony had been working with probably Monsters, which was the original owner of Firewalk and Firewalk, probably since late 2020, maybe 2021 at the latest. On Concord, the game was in development before that. Up to the point that the game went into alpha state, they had already spent about $200 million on it.
You see? Right there. They have already spent $200 million, and Sony doesn't even own them yet. Okay? So we're a minute and 41 seconds in, and you already know it wasn't $400 million because they spent $200 before Sony even had them. Okay? There's your first indication that people keep getting this wrong.
And it's unclear how much of that money is from probably Monsters and the original investors into the game and how much of that money is from Sony. There's this term in product development, not only with games, but really with everything. You can like manufacture a shot.
Yeah, he just said it's unclear, but if you think about the timing, that money was spent and invested from prior to acquisition. It wouldn't make any sense for them to get acquired and for that level of money to just be suddenly thrust into the pre-alpha state of the game. That would have come from prior investments, not from Sony.
You guys might have heard of it. It's called minimum viability or minimum viable product. Mm-hmm. The idea behind this, or MVP, the idea behind this is that this is like what you're trying to achieve, and it's like once you cross this barrier, you feel comfortable selling it. It's not that it's the best it can be or that it's what it's going to be by the time you launch it, because there's all sorts of extra stuff you do, but like, this is the minimum viability of the product. When the game had already had $200 million spent on it, and
by the way, I have this sped up because we're short on time. We're going to Ginger in 5 minutes.
Basically in an alpha form, quarter one of 2023. From that point until the game launched, Sony spent another $200 million on it. The scuttlebutt behind the scenes about Concord is that the game was in a laughable shape. When it was...
See, he says this, but there's other parts in the podcast where he elaborates on that $200 million, and he talks about how that $200 million came from funding outside of Sony. Like, in this clip, he's just giving you the rundown of the basic money, and I don't know why right there he says Sony spent the $200, because further in the podcast, he elaborates and talks about there was a second round of funding where they went and got another $200 million, and it wasn't from Sony. He elaborates, it might even be in a separate podcast, I don't remember. I remember specifically seeing Colin basically clarify that and say that that second round of $200 million didn't come, they went, Firewalk and went and got it. They got the first round of $200 million. Jerry Jones is listed as an investor in there. It was like a whole bunch of people were investing. And then the second round of funding, they went out and got more. So right here, he says Sony, and then everybody runs with $400 million. That is correct. There are documents you can view that show when they obtained the additional money. Right. So this initial podcast, when he blows the door off this thing, Colin did either a follow-up episode or maybe it was in the same podcast where he clarified that the $400 million did not come from Sony. So what people do is they use the initial clip to be like, oh yeah, right there. And it's like, well, he does state pretty clearly, we don't even know if the $200 million came from Sony or not. And then the second $200 million, yes, he makes it sounds like it comes from Sony. I wish I had that clip. It's either a second podcast or a second episode where he clarifies and is like, oh yeah, it actually didn't come from Sony. I wish we had that clip. I'd save that freaking clip. I would drop it every single time on these conversations because it's like, I get that it sounds like that's what he's saying here, which is unfortunate. That that it sounds a certain way, and then everybody turns it into it's $400 million. And to be fair, his tweet literally says it. I mean, this is Colin right here, and I like Colin, but his tweet right here says making it cost $400 million. So it's just been utterly weaponized as like a false data point that, again, like I said, he clarified this in the second stream. Behemoth with the 5-bomb. Let me add it to the total. Thank you so much, Behemoth. That's the clip we need. That's the clip we need. We need the clip where he clarified in the second stream. So he sent this tweet out on September the 20th of 2024. The Jerry Jones investment, along with 3 other venture capitalists, was $18.8 million in 2019. Yeah, there's all sorts of funding that Firewalk got. The real crazy part is, hang on, I need to set up redirect and we need to get going. The real crazy part about this is that they didn't even get all of this funding. I feel like when we finally pulled back the veil on all this, the $200 million wasn't even all for Concord. It was Firewalk getting like a ton of funding for all sorts of other things. Like they had more than one project. I feel like we heard that as well. That like it was more than one project. Second episode that the second round of $200 million was from another round of seeking investment outside Sony. We need to find that clip. We need to find that clip. It's going to be in a legend. It's going to be in a Sacred Symbols podcast that followed up that time in September. So, all right, I need to give you guys a link in the chat. But I got 2 different people in chat, Detective Seeds and High on Life, saying they looked in the financials, they found the documents. It 100% backs up what I'm saying, and it backs up what Colin said in the second stream. So, all right, I'm going to post a link in chat. You guys on Twitch, you're going to have to follow that link if you want to watch the show that I'm about to go do. Going to go hang out with the boys over there on the roundtable. Thank you for an amazing Friday. Come over to this roundtable, and I've got a video about High Guard. It's going to go up after the roundtable. We're going to redirect you guys to it. High Guard's not so indie. That's what the video is about. And then I'll see you guys tomorrow night with Madam. All right, I'll see you guys over there.